Good to have you back.
Good to be here,
You
man.
came back to you did the last time you did the podcast. We were in my little it was in a little room at my apartment complex.
Yeah.
It was like a what was that thing? I know you've been into it before, right?
Yeah.
So it was like
a conference room or something?
Yeah, a conference room. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you gave me a whiskey that time, and that was, believe it or not, that whiskey sat on the shelf for maybe like 6, 7, 8 months.
Okay.
I think it was a Texas whiskey you had gave me.
Probably so.
And funny story, and I've said it on the podcast before, I asked my wife to teach me how to drink whiskey because I've never been a shot guy or straight. I've always been a mixer kind of guy. So literally on the couch, she would make me some with a little ice. And she's like, all right, so just let it melt a little bit. And I was kind of like palated myself for whiskey. So now I still have to have a little ice with it, but you know.
Dude, I think however you drink it is if you like it, that's the way you should drink it. I don't think there's any like perfect way.
Perfect way.
Like I think everybody has their own palate, and people are like, don't put that in that. I'm like, fuck you, man. It's fine. I'll put in whatever I want. Like,
exactly.
If I want to drink it with Coke, I'm going to. I don't give a fuck what people think. I mean,
yeah.
And I don't have a sophisticated palate. Like I've been drinking some pretty good bourbon, but I don't know that my palate's any better than.
So bourbon is that's like American. That's like Kentucky and all that.
There's some certain rules. It's got to be a certain amount of like so much percentage of corn. It's got like a certain, and I think it's more than 50% corn. I don't know. Like I'm not a bourbon expert by any means, so I don't even want to tell you that I am. But there are some things that you have to go by for it to be a bourbon. Okay. It can be a whiskey. Like all bourbon is. Let's see, all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Some weird shit like
it's
that.
Like bourbon is whiskey is the base for bourbon.
It doesn't have to come from Kentucky. You can get because like now they're what they call MGP. It can be bourbon. It doesn't have to be Kentucky. I mean, there is Kentucky bourbon, but there's all different sorts of stuff. So,
yeah, I think that my most average go-to is like a little bit of soda water, ice, and whatever. And Jameson is usually what I do because it's cheap and it's everywhere, right? But it's also because like I'm at places where I'm gonna probably drink for a couple hours, and the water kind of like balances it out some, you know? Because I can have 3 like small glasses of ice and whiskey, and I'm like buzzing pretty good, like little bits. You know what I'm saying? So
I've gotten to where I don't drink beer anymore. I don't drink a lot. I mean, I'll drink an old fashioned or something, but I'll do like 3 small pours, sometimes just 2 pours, and I'm drinking it neat now. Just I guess my palate's changed a little bit, and I was never a high proof bourbon guy. Like 80 proof, 90 proof was good, but some of this stuff being.
What's this one?
One of them's 121.8, and one of them's, and you wouldn't think so, but you'll know when you taste both of these. This second one's 124.9. The difference in these 2 bottles, they're 2 different barrels, but they're from the same guy. This Bill Bender guy is the guy who, I guess you could say he's like a non-distiller producer. So they bought a whole bunch of barrels, and then what I got with him went and selected different barrels, but these are all like there was 150 bottles of this, 143 of this. That's it. I mean, there's not like
never get it again.
One barrel. So
that's wild.
The difference in these 2 is so different. This set through the summertime in Kentucky outside. So
that one's 10 years, and this one's 9.5. Yeah.
So when I selected this one, they flew to Abilene, brought samples. So we selected this one. They made a deal with them and actually selected this one at the same time. I just asked them. I turned 50 in September, so I asked them because they barreled these September of 2013. So I thought, well, in September it'll be a true 10-year bourbon. I turned 50. It's going to be my 50th birthday bottle.
Okay.
Well, scheduling didn't go as planned with them, so I literally just got like. It's probably been 2 weeks that I've had these.
Okay.
So we went a little past the September date, but
that's still cool though.
I'm not sweating.
So which one are we trying first?
I would try the 9.5 first.
Okay.
If I were you. I'll let you pour however much you want in there. This was when we first selected them. This was my favorite of. We tasted 12 samples, so this was my favorite.
120?
This is 121.8.
Fuck.
And these are 75% corn, 24% rye, and 1%.
Kind of scared, man. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, dude, that's not even hot at all.
It doesn't drink like a 121.
So what was the one we just had on the Whiskey Boy one from Sunday? It was 115, I think he
I thought
said.
it was 118.
Something like that. And it was the same way. It's smooth. Like
And what was it?
Fuck, I don't remember the name. It was something kind of
Was
hard
it
to find.
the Makers?
It was a certain Makers.
Okay. Makers has a new like cellar age, and there's Makers.
Yeah, it was a
46.
cellar.
Age, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a hard bottle to get. Right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. That he just came across that bottle from a friend, I think.
So that's probably the first. If it's the cellar aged, it was like a 12-year.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
the first aged label bottle Maker's Mark's ever done.
Yeah, that's what he said. I remember that now. He said it
They
in the
never
podcast.
put an age label on them, so that was their release, and it went over like I think that bottle online in the secondary right now is probably $500 or $600.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. That's
I
about
haven't
what
been
they
able
go
to find
for.
one. I mean, if I could pay ridiculous money and probably get one here, but
Yeah.
Well, supposedly they're gonna try to make that an annual thing now for that bottle. So
Well, that's cool. I don't know.
It's crazy right now. It's dude, what some of these bottles are bringing. Like, I've always drank whiskey. I'm not going to say bourbon because I've always called it whiskey. So then I started drinking like TX and Crown. I was always a Crown drinker. I like Jameson. And then I kind of slowly started getting into this bourbon thing. And I've collected it for 10 years.
Yeah.
I'll take that back. I've been collecting it for 16 years because my oldest daughter's 16. So Crown came out with Crown XR. And they had a blue box and a red box. So I bought, I believe it was the red one for my daughter at the time. I was like, I'm going to save this for her wedding. I mean, she's like
that's cool.
6 months old. So 4 years later, my other daughter's born. So I buy another bottle of Crown XR. It's a blue box. One of them is Waterloo, and I can't remember what the other one is, but they don't make either one of them anymore. So that kind of started. I was like, all right, every year I'm going to buy a bottle and I'm going to put it aside for their wedding. So then at one point in time, I don't anymore because I've sold a bunch of it off, but I had almost 700 bottles
God damn.
of whiskey.
It's not bad. You want a cup? You want to do a little bit?
yeah.
Want some ice?
yeah,
Give me a little pour.
Yeah. Don't be shy. So, I have them to drink. So.
and I'll get a little bit of ice.
Come over here.
That's how I started collecting. And then it kind of got to where I started collecting, like trying to get harder to get stuff and like starting to search out. And then it kind of the hunt for going to different
So
liquor
you're
stores.
the one that started that Instagram page, right? The whiskey one?
The Whiskey Garage?
Yeah.
That's
I
mine.
thought that was a cool idea.
Well, probably I don't know if I should say this or not, but I'm going to so the Whiskey Garage, unbeknownst to me, the name is already taken. And the guy builds cars and some other stuff, so there's another Instagram page.
Yeah.
I never saw it. So I guess it came back around. So currently mine says the Whiskey Garage, but we're probably going to change it to Texas Whiskey Garage.
Okay.
Because after I went back and saw that this guy had it,
Yeah.
I'm not going to run with it because he had it first.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then when I started, because I was trying to mesh, like I had this grand plan of gearhead stuff, bourbon, and I still have that, but I'm not going to step on his toes because he had it first. So I'm just not that guy. So we're going to change it to Texas Whiskey Garage or something similar. But I mean, I really would like to have my goal with this building I was telling you about that I bought is to have a whiskey bar with like a dry goods store that sold gearhead type merchandise, and then with a shop in the back with like in process projects that people that come in and have a drink could like see through these plexiglass windows and have a drink and watch somebody work on something or buy a T-shirt or something.
It'd be cool to just have like a space that we could like in Abilene where it's like, hey, let's go to Abilene for the weekend and we'll go hang out at the garage, do some whiskeys and just kind of chill. And then, I'm sure there's normal bars and
There are, and there's some new Texas liquor laws that I just found out about too that like we could do that too because I wouldn't sell it. Like if y'all came in, I could just give you whatever liquor I had. I can give you whatever I want.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay anything for it. But there are some new laws for liquor, like for bars, that if the liquor is hard to get over a certain age, like our rare whiskeys, that there's some new liquor laws. I don't know them all specifically because I literally just got the text about 3 days ago and I haven't dissected all of it.
Yeah.
But they'll be good for what I want to do because I want it to be almost like a speakeasy, like you could come
like
and
a
do your
members thing kind of
but it
thing.
would be like a VIP thrown by hidden door, like secret handshake type
Dude,
shit,
I went to I got a tour of the bike shed in LA this year, and the bike shed in LA is like a spinoff of the main one they have in London, right? So it's like, I guess Tom Hardy's part owner in this kind of thing. So it's a full on deal, and it's all biker shit, right? Not just Harley, or it's all motorcycling. So it's a really cool vibe. And Chris Moose actually built the main bar in the one in LA.
Thing? Is that the copper bar top? Okay.
So when I was there, he saw that I was there on Instagram. So he called me and said, "Hey, I'm gonna call my guy that runs that place and get him to give you a tour." And he did, and it was awesome, man. So they have this like thing where I think it's $1,000 a year or $1,500 a year. It's like $100 a month or some shit like that, right? And you have like a key fob, and you get into this back area that's got its own bar, its own stuff, its own lounge, its own conference room if you want to have like that kind of stuff there. And you can bring a guest kind of thing. And I was like, man, that's cool shit to me. You know, because
I need to see that, like, because I'm interested in that. Like, I'm new to bourbon, and I'm doing a few things in that industry and trying to mesh all these things together.
Yeah.
It's still all new to me, but I know, like, I think Dallas, Fort Worth, there's speakeasies all over the place that people don't know about. Because I've started to look stuff up.
I feel like speakeasies nowadays are kind of like,
They're just gimmicks.
yeah,
No,
gimmick.
they are. I mean, they are.
The clickbaity kind of gimmick stuff. I like the member shit, like you pay to be a member, and it's kind of like, I guess when you do that kind of thing, you can kind of skirt some of the liquor laws in Texas.
You do. Yeah, if you pay to be a member, I think it makes it wide open. And I don't, not that I don't want to make money, but that wasn't my main goal for trying to do some of this. As far as the bourbon stuff, I think
it'd be cool. Like, what if you just had like invited out like 10, 15, 20 people, and they all rode out, and there was like, hey man, we're doing all this. Maybe it was like $100 a head or something like that, to where there's money coming in.
Yeah,
but then
it'd be awesome.
all I think about is like all the time is how do you get something popping off in every major city in Texas to where we have a reason to go there and do something. You know what I mean? Abilene's kind of a sleeper in my opinion.
It is.
I know there's people out there. I know you're out there. I know I've skated there before in the little skate park they have.
A little skate park. It's just I feel like we're a little bit behind in everything. Like I feel like everything is 5 years behind. Like our downtown is just starting to take off. But
yeah,
I don't know if it's politics. I don't know if it's income. I mean, the price to live in Abilene is pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
But the wages in Abilene
don't match.
I mean, they're relative to what the cost of living is as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, and right now, the expendable income just doesn't seem to exist. I mean, I tried to be in the motorcycle business for a long time there. It's just hard to. It's really hard to get anybody to value just like painting.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell somebody in Abilene, hey, this paint job's going to cost you $10,000.
You're probably only going to have maybe 5 people in that whole city that's willing and has that kind of income. But that's why I've always told people, like, if you have a brand that if you have a way to like not geographically lock yourself into your customer base, then that's the only way that's what makes sense to live in a town that's cheaper, because your income's coming from all over the country. Sure. Like, Covington, Woodward, Oklahoma. There's nothing around there.
It's not.
Nothing.
I've never been there,
dude. It's a strip. Okay. It's like imagine if you were in the sky, it would look like a landing strip. Like there's a main road, and then a railroad, and then like a little bit of a downtown, and then a couple little suburb kind of parts. But 1 mile in each direction, you're back out. And
their work God, man, that shop's incredible.
Yeah, they do.
I say the shop. I haven't seen the shop, but their work is incredible.
Well, they got a nice spread too. Because, like I said, they've kind of had a building, and then they kept expanding, and they almost have like an entire block.
Don't they build hot rods too?
Jerry's got some really nice hot rods. Yeah. So, but the thing is, it makes sense to once you get to a point where like you can build a bike or whatever you're offering, to like don't rely on that. Like try to get it to where you're not relying on the local population to cover your expenses. Because same, like I don't have any helmets from people. I have one helmet here from a person in Dallas. That's it.
Really? And
I got 20 helmets on order. So it's like, to me, it's, local people tend to want a price shop. You know what I mean? So you're always going to get that. Like, who will do the tire cheaper? Who's going to do this? But when you find people that like want your work, then that's from anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, your builds over the years are quality, and they're iconic. I mean, hell, the hot bike cover at one point in time with the FXR. Yeah, I mean,
I need to build something else. I've been out of that space for a while. I think 19 was the last time that I took anything to Sturgis. I haven't built anything new since.
Yeah, but you got to wait for something to call you though, right?
Yeah,
Like it's something that like
I just
makes
haven't
you
had
want
that
it.
feeling, and I think with with what happened to my brother, kind of just put a damper on things for a little while. I mean, I've
Yeah.
got the fever, it's there. Watching the FXR tour definitely hyped that up for me a little bit, and just
Yeah.
when I see those FXR frames sitting in my shop, and I'm like, man, I got to do something with those. So,
Yeah.
and I got this house thing going. If I can get it done, man, without just completely going absolutely broke,
Yeah.
maybe I can muster up the energy to build something. But no, I think something in Abilene, like you're talking about, like a membership thing, like kind of I'd want it to be cool. Almost custom culture-ish, because I don't like.
Yeah, not just bike stuff. Yeah, just everything.
Well, and I don't want it to just be, I don't even know the right word. I don't want it to be normal. Everything in my life, like I like custom motorcycles, custom cars. Sometimes I dress kind of weird, and people are like, "What the fuck's he got
I
on?"
dig it, dude.
Like,
I like the swag.
it's
Whenever
like
you
a
go out with the old lady,
custom culture type thing. It's
Yeah.
just like bourbon. I could just as easily go down to the liquor store and buy a bourbon off the shelf. But
Yeah.
I searched out, found some stuff, what I would call custom bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like the custom aspect. So like the bar dry goods stop. Or dry goods store. I'd want it to be kind of a custom vibe, to where it was kind of exclusive to a certain group of people that wanted to be involved in it, not
Yeah.
just to the masses. Maybe
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. So
well, I mean, I think that's how. Is the building kind of more downtown located?
It
Okay.
is. And that's why I bought it. When I bought it, thinking they had this district, they were calling it. There was two different districts. There was the Soda district, which was south of downtown Abilene, and then there was the north downtown, and then they had this area like they were going to give tax credits and all these breaks if you bought within this zone, opportunity zone.
Okay.
It's called. So I bought this building. Well, then they moved the opportunity zone about 3 blocks the other side where I bought the building. Nonetheless, it's a 4,000 square foot building. It's got 24-foot ceilings. It's a decent sized building.
Yeah. So 24, you could do 2 stories or a loft or something like that, right?
It's got big bay doors, like you could pull. It was an old paint and body shop for semis, is what it was. So, and I bought the building. It was originally built in 1929, and they added on to it. But I bought it really, really reasonable for what it is. And so I thought, well, it'll be an investment property later on down the line. I'll just lease it out. I'll do something with it. So it's been just a catch-all for storing shit for the last 4 years. But I've been working on it here recently, just like stripping floors, painting floors, taking out walls, putting in new walls, just trying to make it something. I'm going to lose the shop at my house when I move to the new house, so that's going to turn into my shop. So
Well, it's kind of like what Frank's doing. I mean, with that property on the main street there in Joplin, it's like, I mean, he's got the actual old school speakeasy spot that, in it that like,
does he?
it's
I've
actually
seen pictures, but I didn't know that's what it was.
no, yeah. I mean, it literally it's like a 3-story situation where, the third floor, it's like got like almost apartment rooms, and there is like this small door, and it goes into this big open space that had a stage, and it's kind of where the piping and stuff is, and it's a straight up speakeasy. You know what I'm saying?
Anything that dude does will be cool.
Yeah.
Everything he touches turns out cool. So
Yeah.
it'll be cool.
So I don't know. I think that like that's probably kind of like the concept of where I see my brand going. I mean, I don't think podcasting is going to last forever. It'll probably turn into something else. I can't paint forever, even though I do enjoy it right now. The FXR really relit a lot of fires in me that have been dead, right? Good. Building it,
I'm glad
right?
to hear that.
But, like when I'm 50, like 8 more years, 9 more years, whatever, like I need to like, I got to grow up at some point. You know what I mean?
Well, you say that, but like talking about being 50, and I can remember talking to my dad, and my dad was probably 50. And
Keep the mic close.
My dad was probably 50, and he built bikes and drag cars and stuff growing up. And I can remember as he got older, and I got older, things slowed down, and the fire didn't seem to burn, and he just kind of quit. And I was like, why would he quit doing that? Like, what happened? What makes you quit having that fire? And then as I've gotten older, and life things get thrown at you, and things happen, and you're like, okay, fuck, man, I get it now. I understand.
I got an idea for that, because I'm a very like I watch, I absorb a lot, and maybe you can attest to this if you can see what I'm saying, or maybe I'm just full of shit. But I feel like when people stop having goals and dreams, that's when they lose everything.
No, I think you're 100% right. I do.
Because at what point, like, what's the age that you get to that you're like, oh man, this could be a 20-year endeavor, and I'm 60 years old. Like, why am I gonna try this? And I mean, then again, it's like I feel like the older you get, the things that you have that you maybe dream or want to create, you have all the resources you never had at 20, 30, and 40. Maybe it's a little income, or maybe it's just a know-how. Maybe it's a network. There's so many things that makes it easier for you to achieve your goals at a later age. But if you've lived a good life and whatnot, but I feel like when you just give up or because I see it all the time. I mean, I used to date a girl where her mom hung out in a VFW all day long, and we would go up there because we'd get free or cheap drinks, right? And you'd have a conversation with people that are 55 years old, and like, what are you doing? Drinking their life away because they've lost all desire and goals and dreams, and they're just
I can relate to that because of I'm not old.
Mm-hmm.
I've done.
If that's 50, I fucking can't wait, dude.
Well, I'm not old, but I've went through this stage in my life to where things got difficult, and then I started this house project, and then things got financially more difficult.
Yeah.
Money that I had saved, literally my wife and I, our entire savings that everything I've worked for since I was joined the military at 23.
Yeah.
Right now is gone.
Yeah.
So it's made it for me like it's difficult to see like that next FXR build or like this truck build that Buddy and I are getting ready to start. It's been like I'm trying to get that fire back, but I keep feeling like there's these little obstacles I got to jump over. I just don't want to stop jumping over them. I got to keep fighting through that. So, and one thing about social media that I will say, because I think there's so much good and there's so much bad with it. Social media has helped me keep the fire burning a little bit when days when I'm like, man, fuck this stuff. Fuck. Sell all this stuff.
Yeah.
Be done with it. Raise your kids. You're 50. You got 10 good years of, things really go good. I got to get out of that mentality. So then I see like a cool car, or I see your FXR build, or I'm like, okay, man, I'm only 50.
Yeah.
I'm not 70.
If you can still ride a bike, to me, like, you got to do that till your body won't allow it anymore, and just keep feeding into it and doing what you can. But to your point of like, put it like this, like when I did that first FXR, the gold one, right? That was a bike that I just could not get it off my mind, and then bringing it together, making it happen was dope. And then I loved FXRs, but after that bike was kind of gone, every time I would get an FXR, the idea for what I wanted to do never quite inspired me enough to take the plunge, right? So I had 7 other FXRs after that one, whether it was like a little lowrider that I fell into, or traded a helmet or two for another, clapped out FXR. Like, this is going to be the one I'm going to do this. But those ideas never quite permeated enough to kind of become reality. And obviously, the chopper FXR concept was something that I kind of like fell in love with a long time ago. But over 4 years, that love for it grew, and other people's, other inspirations, like homeboy Scotty, I think is his name.
Yeah, Scott Williams. Like seeing that every once in a while pop up on Instagram. And then, of course, I've said it a million times, the Al Emerson build that he's been doing. It's like you see it and you talk about it. And then when this whole concept that Justin kind of came to me with at to do the FXR tour, it was the forcing of doing it. It's like if that wouldn't happen, I would not have done the bike. It would have been on the back burner. It's almost like you have to put some kind of unrealistic force on you. Like, if I don't build this bike, then I just got to get out of it. I just quit. See, I need that. I need that force to like. I've got an FXR in my head that I want to build, but I keep coming up with excuses why not to build it. I don't have the money, or I don't have the time, or like. So, I mean, I'm glad he called and put that in your head, because
And it's one of those things, man. Like, and I think about some of the builders that built bikes on the tour, who didn't have it already kind of in the works. It was kind of like something that as soon as they were asked to do it, it was like, I got to figure something out. And they rose to the occasion and did something that they wouldn't have normally done. I think that's the point of the more, like, put it like this, maybe you can help me out with this, because you're an FXR guy, you know the world. You know a lot of the players in the FXR game. And so right now, like the FXR, you got things like the Jams, which are awesome things, right? But that's not really a custom motorcycle like draw. It's like, I know there's custom FXRs there, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's a bunch of stock bikes. But when we're trying to tell people, or what we're trying to get across, is like the FXRs that were built on this tour are so much further extreme than what most things that come to a jam are.
100%. I'll be the first one to tell you, I think FXRs are cool. Mm-hmm. I have zero interest in a stock FXR.
Same, zero.
I don't have zero interest in a stock anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, other than the pickup I drive daily, I don't care about anything stock. And I don't hate to say that, but it's just like stock Harleys. A bone stock Harley doesn't do shit for me.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. I mean, like the FXR Jam, it's for guys who really are FXR purists.
Yeah.
That's why I've always made the FXR show in Sturgis, because I feel like I'm going to get from all directions, East
You're going to
Coast,
get
West
everything.
Coast,
Yeah.
North, South. I'm going to get some custom FXRs at that show.
Yeah.
So that's why I originally did an FXR for that show, because I didn't care anything about a stock FXR. I wanted it to be custom.
Yeah.
That's the word you want to use. I mean, but
Well, it's like right in the last couple of years, the FXR, like the pinnacle or the most sought after. I mean, the bikes that won this year's FXR show, that got like the best of show, they were fucking beautiful. But other than the fact they were custom, but they still had factory paint schemes on it. They were beautiful bikes. That's what I'm saying. It's like it gets tricky because you can't like say, look, I just like custom FXRs. And they're like, well, it is custom. Like, well, custom to me is there's not one thing that came with the same finish from the factory.
I would agree.
So even if it is like a factory, if you did all this custom stuff and everything's chromed out and you got an S&S motor and a Baker tranny and wheels and all this stuff, like I can appreciate that. And then you put like a nice cherry custom or stock style paint job back on it. I fuck with that. But if you put a custom paint job on there or just something custom in general, I'm probably going to fuck with that more.
Oh, 100%.
It's the reason why like the Hans's FXR that Ramjet built 2 years ago, I think two Sturgises ago, I think 2021. Like, I love that bike. Still, he's one of the guys that rode with us on the tour.
Was it a blue and black?
No, it's like a candy red, or no, it's like a dark pewter kind of color with like red accents, twin cam, I think. RT fairing, the whole nine. Yeah, it's a beautiful bike.
Everything Ramjet does is cool too.
Yeah. So but
I think the FXR show in Sturgis, I think it's at a crossroads a little bit. Like, I love Joe. That's the one show in Sturgis that
you
when I
gotta
go. I'll go to that show 100%. Like the other ones, I'm like, may go, may not, but I always go to that one. But I think it's a little bit at a crossroads of what are they, like, are we wanting custom FXRs there? Are we wanting just freshened up stock FXRs there? I think there's a little bit of a...
When I brought the gold FXR there was heat in that parking lot.
Yeah.
There was the Trask, 143 turbo FXR. Danny D had just came out with that twin cam. I think it had a 143 or 124 in it. There was a green one that was kind of
because at the 148 or 147 on the
yeah
tank or something like that.
So you had that one, and then you had like the Barnett
Bennett Performance.
I think they got first place or something in the deal, and it's like, the bikes that were lined up there were all.
I wanted to come back to that though.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's not that anymore, and then you got all these. Don't get me wrong, like FXR is like, it is a fucking cult.
It is a cult.
It is a cult. And these new guys, they get in it and they just love everybody around them so much that they project so much of this like energy out there to people that are like, yo, man, like where you're at, I was at 6 years ago. And I'm not trying to like, cool guy you or anything like that. I'm just like, look, you're so stoked to be in something cool right now. Shut the fuck up and enjoy it. Don't start telling me how I need to be like you
right.
and this is what's cool. I was like, I already been there, done that. We're trying to add to that. We're trying to build and bring more things to the table for FXR people, because it's not just one type of FXR guy. FXRs are like there's so many different avenues in which people do them.
Well, and there's a lot of people that they'll say, man, I was riding FXRs 20 years ago. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. I wasn't. Like I see them in magazines, and
Yeah.
there was club guys riding them, and then there was, I mean, you go, Arlen Ness was building FXRs
Yeah.
a long time ago. I mean, there's a lot of people that are on FXRs, but I mean, that doesn't, what am I supposed to do with that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I got to do what I'm going to do with them. But if it wasn't for FXRs, I don't know if I'd be sitting at this table.
Yeah.
The FXR probably brought me to this table the first time.
Well,
I mean,
I remember when you brought that FXR out. That was the first. It was either the first FXR show I went to in Sturgis, or the next year was the first. And you had brought
it was
it
at the
back.
drag strip.
Yeah.
It was the year after.
Okay, then it wasn't the first year.
It was the year after they did it at the park. They were doing it at Sturgis at the park there in the city, which is that was 2015, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
And I was there with Brad. Brad won an award that year, and I had this FXR sitting in a corner that I traded an Audi R8, or not an R8, an Audi A8 or some
Yeah.
four-door car with. I traded a dude that car for this FXR, and I let it sit in the corner, and then he won an award, and I'm like, man, I want to see if I can do something. So I ended up doing that, and I don't think I changed the FXR game by any means, but I think like anodized wheels, anodized engine parts, anodized rocker boxes. I mean, going way over the top with a bunch of different colors and engine stuff that was anodized.
You were bringing like the custom elements to this bike, right?
And then I think after that year, I think you started to see more people with like orange wheels or red wheels or gold wheels, or like things started changing a little
Yeah.
bit. I don't know that I was that influence, but in the FXR community, that was kind of like,
See, I remember because at the time we were doing a lot of work with James Carter.
yeah.
And we were leading up for Sturgis, as most of us will. I mean, if you were building bikes back in 2015, 16, and 17, you're dealing with James Carter in, June and July, heading up to Sturgis in some form of fashion. And I remember we were up there doing something, me and my buddy Brad, and he was like, man, you see Cody Childress' FXR? I'm like, what's FXR? And then I'm looking at it, and then my buddy Brad, my buddy Brad is like, he's the one I owe all the credit for putting me into this world,
Okay.
because he was the guy that followed Unknown and was into all the dirt bike stuff and was like, man, this stuff's cool over here. And he's like, while you're up in painting bikes in NorCal, like look at those Dynas that they're riding and shit like that. And I started, I'm like, fuck, like this is actually pretty cool. You know what I mean? But like that, I think when your FXR came out, like I think that for one, I mean, we're talking like 2016 whenever I really saw it, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, coming out of the big wheel world, like that was like a fresh take on a new world of like customizing in a bike that is cool. It's like I was past the point of needing to be a part of a bike scene that's the most popular within the motorcycle culture at the time. I kind of wanted to be around people that loved motorcycles. And I felt like one of the biggest reasons that pushed me away from big wheels is the love for stereos overpowered the love for riding for a lot of the people in it, right? Or at least the people that were hanging out at
I would agree. I would agree with that.
And so when I started messing with the Dyna and the FXR world, like I was just kind of greeted with dudes that were like stoked about the bike. Like they were stoked. It wasn't about like how much money you spent on the bike or any of that. And not that it ever has mattered. I feel like if you put 50 grand in your bike and you love it and it's badass and it does all the things, like I don't want to be like, oh, it's a cool bike, but you put 50 grand in it.
Well, and I mean, I probably did put too much money in that bike. I mean, I ended up selling it and losing money, but that was my own fault. I mean, just going, hindsight being what it is, I probably didn't need. I could have done the same with a 96-inch twin cam motor and put covers on it as I did with an R&R 124 inch.
Yeah.
I mean, but being kind of
coming from the world you're from, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to do things a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I needed to, but I've kind of dialed that back a little bit. But I can remember being at that show and really, I don't think I cared too much what people thought. I mean, I went hoping I can't say that I didn't go hoping I would win something.
Yeah.
I mean, I built that bike with the intentions of like going to Sturgis and hoping to win that show. Because I had kind of put that bike on the back burner. I'm like, I'm not fucking with that bike because my dad passed away. And then, my brother was like, you got to finish it. I'm like, okay. So I finished it. And I can remember seeing Jeff Holt kneel down and stare at it and look at it and kneel down and walk beside it. And I'm like, maybe I got something. Maybe I did something because it caught his eye. At the time, he's an editor
Yeah.
hot bike. So I was like, man, that for me at the time, I didn't know who Jeff Holt was as far as we didn't shake hands, we didn't talk. I just knew who he was. So for it to catch his attention, it was cool for me. I mean, I think even being in my 40s, that was still kind of cool. I was still kind of kiddish. Maybe I mean it was. I built it to get attention. I got his attention, and then ended up winning some stuff for it. So it did what I wanted it to do, and I was excited about it. I mean, it made me love motorcycling again, to where I'd lost that for a little while. Maybe
that's kind of one of the things I've been trying to like find. Like I'm bad about trying to find the right words to say it, but what you just said is gold. You have to find a way to stay in love with this shit. It's not. It's like a wife. Like, how do you stay in love with that same box? For
you can burn out. I mean, like I've read a bunch of books about marriage and how to keep the fire burning. I just haven't found the FXR book, how to keep that fire burning. But like I was talking about, social media being the, seeing Rennie and you and Paul and Justin and everybody build FXRs. Yeah. For me, it was like, fuck, dude, you got to get this house finished.
Yeah.
You got to get this lift cleared off and get something back on the lift. And so I understand the burnout, and I've been through the burnout. And, I mean, that's one of the reasons when you said, hey, I'd like to get you up for the podcast. I was like, I need to do that. Like when I saw you in Sturgis, she's like, hey, let's get together and do that. And I was like, fuck yeah, I need to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, because this feels good to me. Like, I'm talking about motorcycles feels good to me.
And you're staying in my house tonight, so we're going to fucking drink more and talk more tonight. So
as long as I don't have to drive, I'm good.
Yeah. But, I mean, especially after I've met more people from your, the chopper dog world that you were a part of, like, and, they've become like, Frank's been amazing. And I never even knew James Carter was a part of that shit back in the day. It was just business. But the whole thing is like the dynamic that all you guys created back in the mid 2000s or early 2000s and have carried on and stayed in contact is something that, like, I think that it's a lesson for all of us that are coming up and around, and how we need to carry our relationships and how we need to carry our friendships. That way, 20 years from now or 10 years from now, or whatever the case may be, like, we're not at each other's throats because we've all fucked each other over and whatnot. We've managed to, like, stay comrades for the last,
I think that was the cool thing about the Chopper Dogs, is that being at that particular time, there wasn't I think MySpace was around, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't remember. But there was no Instagram or Facebook or 28 other different apps you could be on all the time. It was Chopper Dogs, and we all got on. I mean, like you're literally on your desktop, and you're, like a lot of, Brad Barnes and Jason and James and Frank and, all those guys. It's crazy that we were able to stay connected that many years through that many different revolutions of motorcycling. You know what I mean? And still to this day, I feel like some of the FXR community has kind of morphed from that Chopper Dogs.
I believe so.
And everybody, like Frank's doing a bunch of really cool stuff. Brad's done some cool stuff. James is getting involved.
It'd be nice to see James on the FXR.
Yeah, man. I don't know if he will, but he could. It's not that he couldn't. I think he thinks, no offense, but that he's too big for an FXR. I think he thinks that. But I'm as big as he is. Yeah. At one time I weighed more than he did, and I was on one. So he could get on one. But and it may be just, maybe that's not his jam. But there's still a lot of those guys that were Chopper Dogs that are into FXRs, and it's funny to me. And I think maybe the reason we all stayed connected from that Chopper Dogs is because it was not another Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever to be involved with. So we were all able to stay connected. Now you can be connected right now, and then if I wanted to get on my phone right now and I'd see something on Instagram, and it may take me off of focus of what you and I are talking about. So I just go on to the next thing. So
well, also, if you think about it, like, each one of you guys, like, made an effort to be a part of it. Like, picking up your phone while you're taking the shit and seeing what's going on Instagram versus getting off work, coming home, logging in AOL, dial up, fucking waiting on it. What's up, guys? Just got in. Like, that's a different experience that I think a lot of kids will never understand what it was like, and how those relationships that you can kind of form through that conversation, because that's the way you communicated back then, and think about it like, hey, a magazine just came out. Got mine. You seen this? Like,
dude, it was, I mean, it literally was almost an addiction to where you couldn't wait to get home and log in and get on there and see what, was Jesse on here today? Who was on here today? Who's got this? Who's doing this? I mean, you're starting. I mean, there's a Facebook page that's a chopper. It's a West Coast chopper. I don't know the exact name of it, but there's a bunch of guys on there, and it's crazy to me that he still has a following like he does. Like, and there's still those, like, I feel like there's a resurgence of the CFL and the West Coast.
Oh yeah, there definitely is.
Because I'm seeing prices on them that are like bananas. I'm like,
if I was gonna predict anything right now, because we just had Rick Fairless in here, yesterday? Yeah, so we were talking about some of that style. Even though I'm not saying Rick Fairless's bikes and Jesse's, but that era of bike build, right, is I think gonna have a resurgence because there's a lot of people out there like Daniel Heeman. A lot of people out there that can still build and do this kind of stuff. And I think that, like, right now, I think some people are bored with, like, Harleys. Like, because think about it. Harley's been the customized bike for the last 15 years. It's been the bike. Before it was like, nobody fucking gave a fuck about an Ultra Classic in 2004 or a Street Glide. They didn't even come out with Street Glide until 2006 or something like that, right?
2006, yeah.
So
first year.
Now I think that people are like, well, I want to do something cool, but like, and
what do you think's causing that though? What do you think's causing the?
I think that some people.
I don't want to say lack of interest, but do you feel like there's I feel like it's I don't know the right terminology, but like the younger generation.
I think it's a barrier of entry thing. I think that some of us want to be on something that's harder to be a part of. And I think that right now, all the Harley Davidsons that are being customized are financeable. The parts are readily available. You can click and affirm buy them through your thing. It's like there's really, other than like, yes, you have to pay for it. There's no obstacle to be a part of it. Like, it's almost like the industry. I think people within the industry that love motorcycles are trying to find a way to tribalize an area and carve out and get back to something that feels like theirs.
So for me, like you as a custom painter, you don't get instant gratification. You have hours and hours and hours and hours of body work and shit work and to get to where you ever get to put color on something, right? And then you put color on it and then you sand it and then you got to clear it and then you got to cut and buff it, right? So you have all this time into it before you ever get to see like the final product.
Yeah.
So we probably all like instant gratification a little bit, but I think some of the younger generation, they like instant gratification. They just want it and they want it now and they don't want to do anything to it. They're fine with it how it is in stock form, to where I'm patient enough to where I got to buy an old bike and take 2 years getting it how I want it, because I'm not really concerned about being like, I got to have it right now.
Yeah.
I think it's where some of that custom world comes in for me, to where I'm like, I can't do this in 30 days. I can't do this in 60 days. It's going to take some time. To where the younger kids they need it right now. They just they can go buy it with a firm and they can finance it. And maybe they can't buy any parts for it because they're having to finance it through a firm, but they're okay with just getting it.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if that makes any sense.
I think maybe to your point of like a instant gratification, which I've been trying not to use that word because I think it makes certain generations just check out. Like, they're like, oh, there's that word again, right? But I think that what it is like, say,
let's come up with another word for it.
Well, what it is, let's define that. So if you buy a Softail right now, you can buy a couple parts with a tax return, or let's just say you saved up a couple months of paycheck or did some side jobs. You can buy a couple things that will change the overall look and maybe the feel of the bike. So that's kind of a more instant gratification in terms of if you were to go sit down and take it down to the frame and spend the next 6 to 8 to 9 to 10 months or longer building a bike. And as you get more money, get to buy more parts and put it together. You're not riding it. You don't get to experience any of those parts until the whole thing's done. As opposed to, I finally got my HPI exhaust. Bam, put it on. Not going to tune it right now because I just got to fucking ride it. I want to hear it. Okay. That's kind, and I'm guilty of that. I've been that guy before, but I think that that's.
I think we've all been that guy.
Yeah, I would say that that's based on where you're at financially and mentally in life, right? Because They're a guy like, in a way, I'm that way. I did it with the ST. I got an exhaust. I just could not stand riding this thing anymore with that stock exhaust on it. So I threw it on real quick and just, rode it for a week or two. But then I was still pulling it back apart to do the full customizing to it, right? I think that like people, you got to get to a point where you have more than one bike. So you have one to fulfill the need of riding and being connected to motorcycles that way for a lot of people. Especially if you're younger, because you might not have the kids and the honeydews and things like that, right? Fuck, it's bike night. I want to go to bike night. But if you had you have your Ripper, your Rider, your everyday bike, but then you got this one in the garage that's going to take you next 2 years to get the parts, get it going, but then a lot of these kids, like, think about it. Let's say you're 25 or 30 years old and you like bikes. Have you even had enough time to really think about the bike of your dreams?
Probably not. And maybe it's not instant gratification. Maybe it's just that we're older and we look through a different lens than we did when we were 25.
Yeah, and that comes with age, right?
Maybe that's what that is that we're just, because when I think back to when I wanted it right now. I just couldn't afford to have it right now. Mm-hmm. To where now I can afford to have it right now, or I could. I probably can't today, but at my age, I could afford to have it right now, but I'm okay with not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the lens that you're looking through that determines.
For sure. That makes sense.
What
Yeah.
that is. Maybe it's not. Maybe the term, like you just saying that like instant gratification's been overused. I never thought about it until you just said that. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's not instant gratification. Maybe it's just that we're older and we're looking through a different lens.
We have patience now.
Right.
I think it's, I've been telling people a lot lately. I might even said it yesterday on the podcast that if I can go back and be 21 years old, I just want to I don't even have a lot of patience, but I have more than I had at 21. And I feel like if I brought that back, I could teach myself how to do more skills, be better, and focus on more of that because I understand the process of doing things. Now, back to like the bike thing you were just talking about. I'm 41 years old as of September. Are you Libra or are you
Virgo?
Virgo, okay.
20th.
Or just before the cutoff line, right? Not that I give a shit about any of that, but my wife, she lets me know, right? So I'm 41 years old, and I've owned and customized about 20 bikes in my January will be my 20th year in the motorcycle industry.
Okay.
So about 20 bikes, 24 bikes or so, maybe 20 bikes, I think. Customized to where I'm proud of, maybe 5. Bikes that I think that are defining my brand, 2.
Okay. That's fair.
I would say that the 2 defining ones are that Gold FXR and the other Gold FXR. Apparently Gold's my fucking shit. But
hey, orange is my shit.
yeah.
So everybody has their color.
I think that my last couple of baggers, while they did what I needed them to do on social media to get attention, they had all the right things, right? They allowed me to travel, which is more important at the time has been more important, right? But like when you try to like explain what it's like to be obsessed with an idea of a bike build,
it's hard to explain.
Dude, I forgot.
It's hard to explain.
I forgot, and it didn't even click. I didn't feel any of this until August, until there was 2.5 months to finish this bike, to get it on the road. That's when my whole fucking life changed. It changed every dynamic of what I've been used to, because before, even with the ST 2 months before, I'm like, oh, I'm building a bike. I'm just kind of customizing it, right? But I'm just surface value. Like, this thing is getting a frame. I'm molding the frame. I'm doing this. I'm checking thread sizes to get ARPs and all the bolts that aren't fucking available, like ready. Like, you're obsessed with this thing.
I get it, dude. I do. 100%. I mean, I think you're talking about patience. Like, you wish you could have the patience at 21. I think I'm over patient. Like, my wife tells me all the time, she goes, "You're too patient."
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm too patient? Because I don't feel too patient. She goes, "No, you're so patient that I can let something sit for too long
and lose interest. Exactly. So you got to have that balance, right?
Turning 50 has kind of given me like that. I have this sense of urgency, like, oh shit, okay, I need to do things. I need to do this. I'm running out of time. So like, I'm redoing this shop. Like, I've cleaned my shop at home. I've started like working on a car that I've had for a long, long time. I've got this truck build going. Like I've started getting, she's like, whoa, hold on a second. Now you're doing too much shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not doing too much shit. I got to get all this stuff done.
Yeah.
So I'm in the middle of trying to find that happy medium of being patient and then being so impatient because I feel like time's running out on me.
Yeah.
So
sometimes having some kind of deadline that's realistic is like, you have to have it, right?
100%.
And 100%. What I used to do for myself a long time ago is I would give myself deadlines that even though they didn't mean shit, somehow I tricked myself into thinking that it was like, I have to have this bike for Sturgis this year. I failed, And, like I'm not really one of those guys that like, I'm not a show, like go to the show, get a trophy guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I'm in the business of doing this for other people. So I never want to be in competition with my customer base. Right. And I would rather my bike, if I was going to build a bike for something, I think that what I would want it to be on a pedestal for is just to show the work, not judge the work. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah. I see that.
Because there's not a show out there. There's not one show that exists right now in all of the motorcycle world that means anything to win. And I'm not talking shit. It's just like means anything, meaning like, okay, I built a bike and now I'm getting invited to, I guess, Born Free Builder. If you win one of those, you get invited to Moon Eyes. I guess that has like some higher stakes. It for sure has higher stakes,
I've never even thought in that space long enough to know like.
But there's no purse. There's no like, oh, I'm gonna win 20 grand if I build this. There's no like I build this bike and next thing you know my phone rings off the hook. I mean, we tell ourselves that. to
probably so
to make us like continue to spend money and time on these things, but the realistic is like, it's to stay in love with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I look at it and I'm trying to think of a show that I'd be like, man, I'd like to build a bike to be able to get to this show, and I can't think. I'm with you. I can't think of one. I think the one cool thing that would be kind of like maybe getting it like. Maybe Michael Lichter saying, hey, do you want to put your bike in at the chip during Sturgis and that thing? I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's something I think it ruins it if you set your mind out to build something to be put in that show because I think picking things or inviting people based on years of them being able to be successful in this business.
For one, he's out of that. So he doesn't do that show anymore. It's ran by some other guys now.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Good guys. Savannah Rose and Dunworth are the ones that are putting that on. Savannah's handling the art and Dunworth's handling the builds.
Okay.
I think that last year they just invited some bikes, and I don't know. I think this year coming they're going to get back to the reason to build, and I think that's a good show because there's a lot of eyes on it, right? There's a lot of opportunity that comes from having your bike sitting on one of those pedestals, and the owner of Progressive Insurance is walking by. Whatever that means, I don't know. I don't know if Progressive is like, we love this bike so much, we want to just give you free insurance for life. Like, I don't know if it works that way. I
guess just the respect for Lichter that I've had because he stayed so true to that craft for so long,
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you're taking on some of that role.
Dude, Lichter's been kind of taking me under his wing a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
we've been hanging out.
That role. So, I mean, I think, like, I'm not as concerned about being recognized. At this point, I've been out of the motorcycle game for a little bit, so I'm not really concerned about being recognized by anybody. But if I was going to be recognized, I would want it to be by peers. Not just people on the street that go, oh, that's a cool Sportster.
Why'd you do that?
When they don't know,
Exactly.
But it's your peers, like people that see this stuff day in and day out, and they live it and breathe it, and they go, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be accepted by. Like, if I was going to, like, pick something to be accepted for, it would be by my peers.
100%. Yeah.
Or people, like, that have looked through that lens for so many years and seen everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, kind of like talking about, your podcast projecting people. Mm-hmm. Lichter has
projected
so many people that maybe it was just that one photograph that he took that he put out.
Yeah.
That was nothing but a photograph, and then the next thing you know,
yep.
Maybe it was the magazine, or maybe it was the commercial, or maybe it was an ad for somebody that, and maybe it was nothing more than a photograph for a guy that was just fucking excited to have his bike photographed.
I mean, dude, think about how many people, like, I'm one of those guys where I finally have a photograph of me, even though it's not on my bike, from Michael Lichter. It meant it was kind of, it was surreal. It's surreal to be in that position where this guy that's doing some badass stuff, or has been. He's had his hands in the curation of the custom motorcycle industry for going on 40 years now, right? Like, when he speaks, I listen. Like, I'm not trying to give him my spiel. I'm like, and then tell me more. It's just,
right. No,
I shut the fuck up, right? And I've been super fucking fortunate to be able to spend quite a bit of time with him the last 3 months.
Have you? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, from hanging out at his house to the podcast we put out with him a couple weeks back to going and doing Galveston and you know, hanging out with him down there. And
I saw those photos. So
yeah,
I mean, someone's got to. The torch has to be passed. Has to be. If it doesn't get passed, then.
But it's also the thing that I try to tell people all the time is like the torch is, you know, like the passing of that is like I have to want to be the guy that's always going to be trying to find the guy, right? Because that's Michael Lichter. Michael Lichter's looking for the next guy that's going to be the bad motherfucker or the baddest bike builder, the coolest painter. You have to be the guy that's willing to be the guy behind the camera. That's always something I've realized a lot, like taking pictures, is that.
So instead of being the guy,
exactly,
you got to be the guy looking.
You got to be the guy looking to find them, and you got to be okay with them becoming something from what you did for them, and that's hard. I'm dealing with it now. That's hard.
Yeah, but I mean, you've probably, I think you've handled that well because you're doing podcasts when you could just sit in here and talk by yourself. You have guests on all the time.
Yeah, I do, and sometimes when they don't talk much, I have to talk about myself to fill it in.
Yeah, I get that. But you don't have to have people on your podcast.
Yeah. There's that point too, but like I think that what makes this podcast fun, or what I've enjoyed about it, is learning. Because even this conversation right now, I had no idea what we were going to talk about. I just know that who you are, you've been a great friend for years. You have an eye for, I respect your bike building style and skills and things like that, right? So like I know especially we're gonna pour some whiskey right now. Like we're gonna figure something out.
Well,
right?
and I'm a quiet guy by nature. Like, I mean, I don't like getting me in front of a microphone and a camera. Yeah. You know, like microphone I'm cool with. Camera, that's a little different, you know? Yeah. I mean, not been in front of the camera a lot.
It'd be different if we had the live up right now and you could see it. We stopped doing that.
But I mean, I'm quiet. I'm quiet by nature, but get me in an element with some people that I like, and you know, I mean, some people are like, man, that guy's kind of a dick because he doesn't say much. I'm like, no, I'm not the guy that knows everything. I don't want to be the guy that knows everything. I'm quiet by nature just because I don't want to overtalk people, and I listen a lot. I don't have to talk to learn. So you know, but I mean, even at Sturgis, Hallman used to say, man, everybody thinks you're pissed. I'm like, I'm not. Yeah, I'm just quiet. Like, so getting me in this element, getting me to talk is, I mean, it's good for me. Yeah. I don't know if it'll help your show or not, but it's good for me.
No, it's all good, man. It's to me, it's about its perspectives, right? Like everybody, I mean, we're kind of closing out 2023, right? Yeah, 2023, and it's like there's a lot of weird shit going on in the world right now. It just feels weird. It feels different, and I mean that's all, whether it's political or you know, fucking wars and all that stuff. But like trying to stay connected to motorcycling right now, and I think that, you know, a lot of people are on the fence, like, okay, what's Harley going to do next year? That's going to dictate my purpose in motorcycling, is what's weird, right? And I noticed that going through like this past year doing the FXR stuff, it's like how much I allowed the motor company and what they released to dictate my involvement in motorcycles. Oh, well, if they don't do another cool bike, I don't know what bike I'm going to get into next year. I guess I might look at an Indian. It's like,
we're all guilty of that. Anybody that says they're not guilty of that, I mean, I'm guilty of it. I've talked so much shit about the motor company doing dumb shit, and go to that one next.
All right, it's a new.
It's a little hotter. It's a true 10-year, 124.9, which is.
I'm sorry, I got ice on it, man. I feel
what I say earlier. Don't be sorry. I mean, I have not drank either of these with ice, so it might even be better on ice. I don't know. I mean, no, but I'm guilty of saying if Harley doesn't do this or fuck Harley Davidson or whatever. That's just me being probably either having too much to drink, being immature, and really not thinking about the grand scope of
what's even smoother.
What they're seeing. It's hotter. I mean, it's
a little hotter, but it's smoother though.
I think they're both great. I mean, I do. Mm-hmm. I'll give Bill Bender. If you don't follow him on Instagram, it's Bill Bender or Bender Stash Whiskey. But Bill is a kind of a world-renowned palate for
Nice.
bourbon.
Where's he
So,
based out of?
Kentucky now. He was in Florida. Ex-pro golfer.
Okay.
Didn't know that till hung out with him for a little while, but he's got an incredible palate and is doing some really. I mean, he's got some cool stuff coming up. Next 3 years for this brand will probably be
big,
pretty big. But yeah, I've been guilty of like, oh, fucking Harley this, Harley that, Harley could do this, but I mean, from a business standpoint, Harley's got to do what they've got to do to survive and make money and be a business. And me sitting on my couch going, well, if they don't build this, I'm fucked them. I'll buy an Indian. I'm like, I'm not buying a fucking Indian.
Well, if you really think about it, like the customizing, the things that we're kind of like the world that we the Kool-Aid we drink is not necessarily Harley's like buying power demographic.
Hell no.
You know what I mean? We do help.
On the surface.
We help make it cooler to other people that might be, interested, but most of the buyers of Harley will, they'll never put anything that's not from the motor company catalog, not a Screaming Eagle part or whatever. Like, and we're sitting here like we're taking these bikes to these extremes and like making them so much different that helps inspire people to maybe want to be on them. But I don't know if it. We definitely don't like change the footprint of what Harley's doing. You know what I mean? No,
you're right though. The inspiration that of a young kid or a teenager or hell, even a middle-aged young kid. I mean, that sees a really cool custom Harley in their head. They're like, I can't customize a Harley, but I can grab a lowrider ST and ride that bike, and then later on customize it or get into this. Or I mean, so like you say, Harley's. I mean, we're just a scratch on the surface for what they're trying to do. But I'm glad to see. I am glad to see that. I mean, I know you've had some involvement with Harley, and then Holt's had some involvement with Harley.
I have no involvement with Harley.
You don't have any involvement with them?
They finally started talking to me. They keep sending me photos of their bikes that haven't been released to put out, and then I do it, and then they get mad at me for it.
Imagine that.
Well, it's right. So it's funny how it just like I get these anonymous messages with like, these are new CVOs. Like, it'd be a shame if they got leaked. I'm like,
so you do have some involvement. It's just maybe not.
Yeah, but they're
not writing you checks yet.
No, they're probably never going to write me checks, to be honest with you. But I had a conversation with them at Born Free or with somebody involved, and maybe it can kind of like at least get a. I feel like if I could just sit at a table with anybody, the CEO, the VP of design, like sit me down and let's have a conversation. You're going to be a fan of me by the time we get done, because you're going to see my passion for this and how like I'm not here to kiss your ass. I'm here because I love this.
Right.
So it's not about you.
Well, maybe they'll give you that opportunity. I mean,
it's about this. Like, I want to make this cool. I don't give a fuck about you. You know what I mean?
I don't care if they listen to you or me or anybody. I just wish they would sit down and have the conversation. Yeah. And give somebody that's on the outside.
Well, they have. So they have been recently, and that's why I'm much more or less criticizing the brand, because like my good friend Danger Dan has been a much bigger part of their marketing and stuff like that, and he's an amazing dude who has a great insight. And when he says like, "Yo, like this CEO is a good dude," I'm like, I trust Dan. I know Dan's not gonna fucking bullshit anybody, right? They really have hit the mark when it comes to like the bikes that they produce for us to like have. The ST, the Road Glide and Street Glide STs are great bikes, Now there's some questionable things with this new like change with things like this, what's going on with the new CVOs and stuff. But the thing is that like their price points are high, right? So maybe they're making the bikes we want, but their price points are so high that it makes people feel like it's the bike we want, but we also want it $5,000 less than what they're selling it for. But then again, that becomes like, American made, whether it's not like forged in America, the parts are fucking screwed on in America.
They're assembled, sure. Yeah.
So,
I mean, their price point is high. It's getting higher and higher and higher, but the price point for everything else getting
for sure
higher and higher and higher. So it's relative to what you're doing.
Yeah, if you're used to buying Big Macs, then your price increase in life has not been that noticeable.
Right.
But if you're in the construction or any of the trades, then you understand how quickly everything that has
everything's
gone
changed.
up. You know.
I know the market softened up a little bit. Just talking to the local dealership where I'm from, they're not going to meet any goals this year for selling bikes, and I don't think it's price point oriented as much as it is interest rate oriented. But you know, we don't. I mean, we have some cash buyers, but most guys are coming in financing it for 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
Well, think about it like this: like, isn't like some of the trucks out there nowadays, like $100,000 trucks that were, you scroll back 20 years ago, these trucks were, 35, 40 grand with all these things.
The truck I drive is a 19, and in 19 I gave, I think MSRP was 76. I think I gave 64. Right? It's got 100,000 miles on it, and I probably should trade, but I went and looked at trucks, and they're like, same truck for truck. It's just a Lariat. Doesn't have anything special on it, just a Ford Lariat. Same truck in a diesel form is 96, 97 grand.
So
no, I'm not fucking doing it.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it.
And so what they've done is they've extended the loan months, right? So now you can finance a vehicle for 10 years. But the problem is that vehicle manufacturers, they don't design a product that's capable of lasting 10 years.
No.
If this was a house where after 10 years of being in a house, it had like some kind of value, it's like it's grown. Like that makes sense to spend $100,000 on a fucking truck, right? But you're talking about a consumable item that after 4 years, you get 120,000 miles, the transmission doesn't work, the fucking rear end's out on it. All these things go wrong. To where it's like, it's weird that like this, like they can't make it last that long because then they would go out of business, right? If they had trucks that could last for 500,000 miles, no problem, they wouldn't be in business anymore.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, but I still wonder like if they made trucks that last a little bit longer, and the price point was decent. I would probably still trade, just
now if
because I could afford it, but right now I can't afford it. So now it's got to last longer because I can't buy a $96,000 truck.
Exactly. Yeah,
I just can't. I mean, like it financially is out of reach for me to finance a truck for 10 years. Because I'm looking at it thinking, damn, my daughter's going to go to college in a year, and I got another one going to be in college in 3 years. Like I can't do all that shit.
Yeah.
So instead of putting me back in the market in a truck, making something affordable, they're just financing them longer and hoping that I come in and I don't know.
Yeah, they're hoping that you want the instant gratification again, right?
Yeah,
you just want it now to say
just
everybody
older and wiser now, so I'm like not doing it.
Yeah,
so.
Buy a cash truck after this.
Yeah, no, I mean, when this truck's paid for, which I'm getting close, I'm just gonna drive it.
Yeah,
I mean, luckily for me, I've got enough knowledge that I can't work on all of it, but
yeah, you can do most of this stuff.
I know people that can do stuff that I can't do, so that'll help. So.
I just crossed 100,000 miles on my Jeep, and I bought it with 30,000 miles 2.5 years ago, and I just hit 100,000 on it. So it's like, and I still got a long time on my note right now.
Well, I had another truck that it was a Chevrolet Duramax diesel and had 337,000 miles on it. Yeah, that's the best running truck I've ever had. And I just sold it because of this house thing that I got going on. I was like, fuck, I got to sell it. So I sold it to a guy I work with, and he's still driving the truck.
Nice.
So, but I've put over 300,000 miles on probably the last 5 Chevrolets I've owned.
Yeah, so, I'm hoping I need this Jeep to last 300,000 miles, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what? I really think you're seeing that right now, though. I think you're seeing people pushing, more mileage out of their vehicles and riding the same motorcycle they've been riding, and we're kind of in that, like you're talking about the weird thing, whether it's politics or whatever's going on. Mm-hmm. I think everybody's pulled back a little bit. I think everything is just like, because we can't just keep going like this.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to look up in a CVO is going to be $97,000 for a fucking Street Glide?
Well,
who's buying one?
Exactly. I mean, who wants to buy one at fucking $60,000 right now? You know what I mean? So
I'm going the other direction. I'm like, man, if I could just find
I'm looking
really
at Sportsters
nice
right now.
09 Road Glide that was clapped out that I could do something with, then I might buy it, because that was the frame change, 09.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and then I saw the whole skinny tire bagger thing came out. I'm like, well, I mean, hell, you can pick up a really nice, like early, 2000s.
I feel like if you're gonna get a skinny tire bagger, you might as well just get an FXR. Because you can. I mean, at the end of the day, like the FXR is always it just has a bet. Like there's no community around skinny tire baggers. There's no
right. No,
there's no
you're
like
right. You're right.
nerd group out there going, hey, that's sacrilegious to cut a skinny tire bagger frame.
I'm cutting it anyway.
Yeah.
I'll cut an FXR up. I don't care. So it doesn't bother me.
Dude, we cut, Corey and I cut a FXR frame that was already cut and fucked up.
That doesn't bother me. Like if you want to cut the neck on all of them, cut it. I don't know. I don't get that. So speaking of Corey at Main Drive, man, those last 2 FXRs that guy's done.
Dude, he's
man.
Yeah, he needs to be on payroll. He needs to be the VP of design. Is what needs to happen.
Do this, and let's sell a bunch of them.
They're so dialed that like you have to see them in person. And this last one, we're doing the ST fairing and the FXR division bags. Like he went above like what he would normally do on an FXR because remember he took an older, I think it was an RT or an RD. I don't remember what it was. It was an RT bike, and he restored this thing immaculately. This thing looked like it came off the showroom floor, which I dig it, right? But to be honest with you, it's cool, pat on the back. But I like custom.
Right.
So I need custom in my life. So there's still that caveat to it. And then when he did the M8 stuff, like I could appreciate how he took all these factory parts and modified them and made them work. And then even this new ST version of the FXR, he went further with his customization, but it still feels like it's based on a very relatively stock format. I fuck with it a lot.
I walked by his last M8, the first one he did at Sturgis, 3 or 4 times. Like,
yeah,
it's just another RT that somebody shined up. Kept going back and forth, and somebody's like, "Man, did you look at it?" And I'm like, "Nah." Like, go look at it. So then I walk over there. I'm like, "Fuck, man."
Yeah.
Okay. And then I start looking at it. I'm like, that's factory front wheel, factory rear wheel. Like, how'd you get that factory wheel in there? Like, and then I start looking at all the wiring, and I'm like, fuck, there's a lot of work that went into this.
It's all original stuff.
Yeah,
it's like,
and then I was impressed, which impressing me, not that means anything, but at that point in time, I was probably not a hater, but I was probably just not giving him the respect for it because I didn't look at it. Mm-hmm. I just looked at the cover and kept walking.
I think that for him, that's what he wants, though. He wants it to be unassuming.
Well, yeah, it was. And then when the dude comes flying by us on the highway, rolling about $120, and I'm like,
yeah, smooth.
Motherfucker in that clapped out fucking RT rolling by me at 120. Well, and finding out that it wasn't a clapped out FXR. So he's that dude is like smooth talent. Like,
yeah, well,
very unassumable, but can do all of it.
I think that me and him, obviously we developed a really great relationship over this course of this year working together. But he was here on Saturday. He came out to pick something up, and we went to dinner, and we were just kind of conversing and whatnot. And I feel like guys like him and Justin Coleman from FXR Division and Torch and TPJ Bryan, knowing all of them, I see so much similarities in their personality and their design tastes, and they're all like very high quality, high performing fabricators. Even though Corey is probably doing it with the most primitive tools because that's how he prefers to do things.
Right.
He came here I gave him a ratchet, a snap-on ratchet, because we had to fix something at his house one day. It was kind of a fluke. There was something going wrong with the bike on the test ride. And so I was like, dude, I got to come by. We got to fix this. We're over his house, and he's got like a 12-tooth ratchet, and it's like click, 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 click. I'm like, dude, this is driving me nuts. So I had a couple extra snap-on ratchets, and I was like, you know what? I have this one really nice one, but let me go ahead and send it to Snap-on. Let him fix all the gearing in it, and then I'll give it to him. Because I realized that Corey he doesn't want to buy anything new. He wants it. It's got to mean something. So I'm like, look, here's my used ratchet that I had rebuilt for you. That I want you to I just want you to enjoy 80 tooth. I want you to enjoy that. And so he came out and picked it up, and we went to dinner. And you know, I can appreciate a lot the fact that the main thing is like he takes all the success that he's had and all the attention, and it hasn't driven him past staying in where he wants to be at in life. It's not like he's quitting his job and saying, all right, we're opening, you know, main drive cycles now. You know what I mean? It's like he just stays, he's like
low key, humble, salt of the earth guy.
Exactly. And I think, I mean, for me, like I've gained so much just like meeting him and like learning how to, I always say this, man, like, you know, maybe you don't like me now, but let me meet a few more people. Maybe you like me later on, because I'm constantly evolving my ideas and my thoughts and how I see things. And guys like Corey and meeting you back in the day and everything, they help form a better version of me all the time by taking these great attributes that I've learned from people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel like Corey has brought a lot of value to my life, not just with the bike that he built, he customized, built, whatever you want to call it. But just doing that whole process with them and how much I've learned, you know, like I want, like you came in today, me and Matt were talking about welders. That's because of Corey's ass. Okay. You know, because now I want to fucking do what he knows how to do.
Being around good people makes
you want to do shit.
You want to do stuff. I mean,
get me wrong. If like you lived in Dallas, there's no way you would not be building bikes. You'd be around us all day long talking about bikes.
We'd be hanging out. I mean, I'm so on an island out there in Abilene. I mean, there's nobody building anything. I mean, it's scary a little bit because there's nobody building anything.
Yeah.
So, talking about Brian at TPJ.
Yeah.
So I met him in 2015 at the FXR show at Sturgis Park. I was like, man, this dude is super talented, but he's so low key.
Yeah.
That you don't even nobody even knows what he's doing. Like,
I don't think people know what he looks like.
He's just at home making cool shit, and
yeah.
Nobody even knows. I mean, so he had a bike, and I don't remember exactly. I don't know if it was a Dyna or what it was at Sturgis Park, but it had all this shit that he had made on it. It was so over the top. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, but at the time, I think this is 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. In my mind, I'm not even processing like CAD and SolidWorks and him making all this shit. I'm like, man, that's a lot.
Well,
There's a lot of stuff going on there.
The thing about TPJ, as another close friend of mine, like he just got a CNC this past year.
So he's manual milling
all these things that he would do back in the day. And I've got a lot of great stories that we've talked about in podcasts with him, where I've been up in NorCal working at bike shows where his bikes were there, but I was, I had big wool goggles on. So I'm like, oh, nice Sportster nerd. You know what I mean? But I've said it a million times, and I got to watch out because I have a limit of how much I can praise TVJ for our shit talking battles that we do. But the thing is that like even his choppers, like true traditional choppers he would build, if he would do those now, like just bring them back, just the swag he used to do, because in a lot of ways he's from that same generation that you guys got inspired on. Yeah. The Jesse James stuff inspired him to do all this stuff. Like those things like his bikes, like they hold up today. Like everything this world's become performance wise, he's kind of one of the grandfathers of it, especially up in NorCal. I think he was
there before it really started happening.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's always had a performance mind to everything he's done, even when he was doing choppers. But it's kind of like he did it before it was cool. And then it's like someone else saw what he did, then they kind of did it, and then they got known for it.
Is that his full-time gig?
I know that pretty much. I mean, I think he's made a living off of.
I mean, I just know that he's talented, and he's in NorCal.
He's in Reno now.
Oh, he's in Reno?
Yeah, he moved out. I think that his full-time gig is spending all the money he made from selling his property in Lodi in Reno now. No, he's got a really nice house. I mean, Matt, we all stayed at his house when we did a trip a long time ago.
I think that was when he first moved in too.
Yeah, it was still new.
Because he was building up his garage and everything.
Okay. Yeah, he's one of those low-key talented guys too, though, to where he's just not out there. Like, I guarantee if I had that kind of know-how and could make that shit, I'd just be out there making it and putting it on Instagram, fucking like, hey, look over here. Like, I mean, I probably would just.
What I loved about like the first time I met him was literally coming to do the podcast at his place in Lodi, and he had this like this kind of like shed garage out behind his property, and on upstairs was kind of like a big drafting table, and he would draw out these designs, and I had a big appreciation for that because I sketch out everything I do, even if it's not like an engineering sketch where it's like on center, 2 feet, whatever, but I just could appreciate the fact that he sat there with pen and paper and created these ideas and then brought it to life. And, he's got a swag, man. And unfortunately, I think that because he's never pushed himself the same way that some of us have to do in this industry to stay, I hate to use the word relevant again, or is that how you say it? Relevant. Sorry.
Good enough. Close enough.
3.
At least you're not angry right now.
I'm not mad. I'm happy, Jace, right now. So
don't be mad, Jace.
I think that it just sucks because sometimes I feel like some of the most talented people they don't get that I wouldn't say it's an opportunity. Maybe it's the notoriety. We all say we don't do this for notoriety, but secretly I think we do. Sure. We need some kind of pat on the back to do this dumb shit sometimes.
I mean, I think males, goal-oriented, alpha-type males need affirmation.
Same.
Right? I
want to put that on a shirt.
I really think we do need affirmation of some sort. I do. I'm not going to say that I need you to every day tell me I'm cool.
Yeah.
But I do want somebody to say, hey, that's what you did is cool.
Yeah.
Or you did a good job. Or, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, typically
I think it's okay to tell your peers that they did a good job and that's cool and there's something right. Instead of knocking somebody down all the time, say, hey, why'd you fucking cut that frame or why'd you paint it fucking orange? Say, hey, that's cool.
Yeah,
I want to hear that. I want to hear have a nice day.
Yeah,
I want to hear, I hope your life's going good, man. I hope your business goes great. Hope your podcast blows up.
Yeah,
I don't hear all that negative shit. There's enough of that. But I think as males, we do need to hear, we do need to hear affirmation.
No, that makes sense. I
don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think affirmation is a positive thing.
One thing I like about Corey is usually if I post something, next time he sees me at bike night or some event that we're at, he'll take the time to be like, hey, that one that you posted the other day, I really liked what you did with this or that. And he's really cool. I look up to him for his work. He'll take the time to look and pay attention to details of stuff and let you know what you're doing good.
Yeah. Well, and I think as men, we overlook that. I think we really do overlook the fact that it's okay to respect another man. There's okay to tell another man, you're doing a good job. I like what you're doing. I think we maybe get caught up in this thing of posturing up to where you're like, I can't tell that dude he's doing good.
Yeah.
Look at the industry years ago. It's a bunch of hard asses.
Yeah, but I think we can all benefit from everybody having a positive outlook on what the other guy's doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The more that you have podcasts can bring motorcycling to light, the better it is for me too. Even if I'm not building anything or doing anything, it still puts a spotlight in, just like me, my fire kind of burning out. Well, you building an FXR, having a podcast, kind of lit my fire back up a little bit. So that's good for me. So, that's hey, thanks for doing that. And thanks for staying true to what you're doing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with us doing things for affirmation or even getting the affirmation for doing it. Whether you like it or whether you don't, I still think it's there and you have to address hey, Corey may not like it. He may not like the affirmation, but he deserves it. Right?
He's probably the most
might not like it, but he deserves it.
Same, yeah.
So, I just don't think there's I don't, like you say, nobody can say they don't do this. You may be a little more humble than the next guy, but everybody's doing it for somebody to say, hey, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, you could attest to this. When you built a bike, think about it. Let's just say back in the 2000s, when you would build a bike, you did it for the chopper dogs.
Fuck yeah,
you wanted those dudes to be
absolutely,
fuck
dude.
Yeah, Cody,
dude,
you killed it.
I built a bike that Jesse roasted me over.
I remember that story. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
but guess what? He wasn't roasting anybody else.
Yeah,
I was okay with it. It got his attention. So I did something that got his fucking attention. And at the time, there was no bigger dude in the chopper business than him.
Yeah.
So if he saw it and had something to say about it, good or bad, he said something. Other people just wanted to say something.
It gave him a feeling.
Yeah, I mean, hell, it did something to him. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I got somebody's attention. I mean, I got to have that bike for all of 5 fucking minutes.
I heard, New Orleans, right?
yeah,
they
fuck
got you. Jesse did that, right? That's funny.
yeah. Jesse had it stolen. So, but those
No, it's
42 in one night. So,
Yeah.
42 bikes. They ended up arresting people for all that.
I remember you on the first podcast. You
they
brought
ended
that up and
arresting a
talked
bunch of
about
people
that.
for So funny too, man. That there was a guy that I sold parts to, and delivered those parts to him that night. Actually, let me back that up. Had those parts in my truck to deliver to him. He comes, we meet in the parking lot. I only knew him through Chopper Dogs. We meet in the parking lot. He's like, hey, let's go to this party. So we go to this party out in New Orleans, Bill Dodge, and like the whole West Coast Chopper crew was there, and the builders were there. And then the next day, all my shit's gone. And then I don't talk to that dude for, well, that was in 2005, so however many years ago. A year ago, that dude calls me.
What did he say?
He starts telling me about, it's sad, it sucks, but I mean, he starts telling me he's been homeless. I was like, okay, and he tells me about his son committing suicide. And he tells me he's homeless and that he had been in a coma for like 8 months. And that, I mean, just this a really wild story.
Yeah.
And I mean, I want to believe that it's all true.
Yeah.
So, and then he's like, can you send me $200? I'm like, man, it's been a long, long time since you and I spoke. The last time you and I spoke, the next morning, I woke up and all my shit was gone, including your shit that I had to repay for. And then 20 years later, I'm getting a fucking phone call and you need $200.
Yeah.
I gave him $200. But,
Yeah.
and then we still talk. Like does
it feel
I
like
don't
legit?
I don't think he had anything to do with it. I think that everything that happened to him, that he said happened to him. I think he went on some really hard times, was homeless for a while. I mean, I guess if you're going to be homeless, New Orleans might be a cool place to be homeless, but I don't know. I mean, I don't.
As long as it's not raining.
Yeah. So, but
I had a guy from high school reach out like a year and a half ago, asking for $50. It was weird. I had to make sure it wasn't like a scam thing, like someone like scammed his page. It was kind of before they started doing that shit.
yeah, no, if I'm going to scam you, it's not going to be for 50.
Yeah,
I'm
and when
hit
he
you for something big, but
when the way he came at me for it, and I didn't take him for the guy that would be in that position to need $50, but him asking me of just, you know, like he was never a kid that was like, oh, this dude's going nowhere in life. He's just a good dude. I went from 4th grade all the way through high school with this dude, right? So he asked me, he's like, hey man, I just need $50. I was like, well, here's 100, you know?
So what's 50 do for you?
I don't know.
Just one more meal?
But yeah, I mean,
One more bottle of bourbon?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
it was one of those weird things where like I still to this day, like I don't feel like no matter what $100 is not going to change somebody's life. Right. But for that moment, it might change. Like,
will it though? I mean, will it? Like you say though, but you're fixing to say in that moment,
it might have changed.
what if
like
that
his
one more meal or that one more night at a hotel, and he's laying there and he's warm instead of cold, and he's like, all right, I got to make a decision tomorrow.
The only reason I gave it to him because I remember we were leaving Nitty Gritty back in like 2018. And it was the chopper event they do down in the Houston area. And we were leaving, coming back to Dallas. And I was cruising down the road, and I saw him leaving. I saw him, like a guy, I hadn't seen him in 20 years. But I recognized him in a car as I was passing him. And, like, of course, I have a helmet on and shit. And I'm like, oh, and I just gave him a thumbs up. And then I messaged him on Facebook afterwards, say, hey, dude, that was you in the car, right? I was the bike that passed you that waved and all that shit. And he goes, yeah, that was me. And then like a year later is when he asked me for the money.
See, this dude that asked me for money, I don't even know how I had my phone number. From 2005 to 2021. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if I still have the same fucking phone number. Like, I don't remember having the same phone number.
I kind of want a different number.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But it was just wild for me because he was like, hey, man, I just woke up from a coma. And he's like, like the one name I remembered was yours. I'm like,
Oh, that definitely gave me my feels.
I was like, okay.
How many
like,
followers do I got on Instagram? If you really thought like,
I don't have any followers on Instagram. I tried to
that
figure
shit's
that
gay.
shit out.
I
But
wish that shit would just go away, man. But you know no, like that stuff. Yeah, I could see that. It was a weird. It's been weird, but you know, I don't know. Like, I don't even know where we were going with all that. To be honest with you.
no, so if you don't call me and ask me for $200, I'm a softie, but I'm out of money, so I don't have $200 to give you. But I'm one of those people, man, that if you call me and be
Yeah.
like, hey, man, I'm really down on my luck, it'd be hard for me to say no.
Yeah.
Now, if you're at the stop sign every single day, I'm not giving you shit.
Yeah.
I'm not. But if you like call me and be like, hey, man, I haven't talked to you in 20 years and really down on my luck, I'll probably give you $200. Even if this is my last $200. I mean, I can play hard ass sometimes, but I think I'd probably
Yeah.
give the shirt off my back if somebody needed it. But I never expected to get it back, and he actually gave me the money back.
Oh, he did. Wow,
Cash at me 2 weeks ago.
that's fucking cool.
No, I mean it was cool, and I felt bad for a minute because I was like, I doubted the guy, at first. Like, I really probably shouldn't have had like a doubt, like, hey, he needs $200. Either give it to him as you're giving it to him and be done, and don't think anything else about it, or don't give it to him. But don't give it to him and then dwell on the $200 every fucking day until he pays you back. And
Yeah.
so he called me one day. He goes, hey, because you got Cash App? I go, dude. He's like, all right, my girl's going to Cash App you, And he had a really cool bike. He had a really, he used to raise pit bulls, and he would sell Jesse pit bulls. And so Jesse, he had a chrome framed, it looked like an El Diablo, but it was a bike that he built in New Orleans. It was chrome, like a baby blue and brown flame paint job. Really, you wouldn't think those two colors would go good
I
together.
can see it. It looked
Back then, especially before, like, you got to think in 2004 and 5. I mean, that paint job was probably out there. You just didn't see it.
Yeah, it might have been like a mini truck style paint job or something like that.
But
yeah.
Jesse made the tank for the bike over some like pit bull trades, and it had some West Coast chopper parts on it that were hard to get. So he ended up selling it. He ended up doing some time. Went down for a little bit over in an undercover cop or something, but he was trying to get back on his feet, and he still had the bike. He's like, I need to sell this bike. So I sent some pictures out to some other people. He ended up selling it, getting a truck, getting a job, and it looks like he's back on his feet. So
That's cool.
I mean, it's a kind of, good for him. So
Well, it's good that he had like obviously it's gonna be weary. Like if somebody asks you for, it's like, right? What's the amount of money where you start to like really, like if I say, hey, in our relationship, if I hit you up one day and say, hey, I need $100, dude, that would be weird, right?
it might be, but I give it to you.
Yeah, but like you're gonna think like, what's he?
I would wonder because of, from my point of view,
Yeah.
you're successful. Everybody has their own view of success, right? But from my point of view, looking outside, looking in, you're successful.
Yeah.
To me. So if you're calling me going, hey man, I need $100.
Yeah.
Then I automatically think you probably have a habit,
Yeah.
right? Or your Brazos
The kind of money
subscriptions went up.
Yeah, like dude,
platinum
they just
or something,
I can't stop jerking off.
But that might be weird. But you got to think this is almost 20 years. The last time I saw this guy is the last time. All my shit gets stolen the next morning. So I'm like,
Yeah. So you wonder if he has
I
anything.
always, forever wondered that,
Yeah.
And I even asked him after he called me and asked me for money, like, I got to ask you something, dude.
Yeah.
Did you have something to do with my shit getting stolen? He's like, no, man. I'm like, I'm been a long time. Shit, I can do about it now. Like, be honest with me. He's like, I swear I did. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll give you $200. So, I think in the first podcast we talked about Dave Perowitz, he got his stolen. He got his back. He's the only one. He's the only one. He just knew people.
Yeah.
So, I had a chance to buy mine back. I was just broke ass and couldn't pay for it. So
Yeah, it sucks.
it is what it is. Fuck. Shit. In the first podcast, I talked about learning a lesson about that, how that affected my life and put my life on probably a different path, with my wife's dad passing away and how that bike took time away from him. And so I think we've talked about that, but I won't bore you with it. But
like staying like, I mean, those kind of bikes that you guys were like customizing and doing back in the days, that's a lot of money invested. A lot of, even if you're doing the work, you're still, you know, like I tell people all the time, this FXR that I have right now, we're even bartering with Corey with like the fab work for the paint work that I did. I'm still probably close to 20 grand invested in this bike, like financially, you know? And I don't even know where the fuck it went, to be honest with you. It's like 20 different trips to goddamn Ace Hardware.
Isn't that how all the builds go, though?
And I'm like, where did this money come from? And I'm thinking about I had a lot of amazing help from friends coming through on that. Matt obviously helped out a lot. And I think about this and I'm like, and then whenever like people are like, hey man, you should like build bikes for people. And I'm like, I can't put a price tag on those trips. I don't know how to charge you for that. And you don't know how to justify paying me for that. And that's what makes and breaks bikes is the deadline coming up and everything you got to do to make the deadline. You know, Bare Knuckle Paul leading up to the end of, you know, like showing up to Durango showed me he had more money in overnight charges to get the parts there that were because something was wrong or whatever, just getting things overnighted for him than most of us had in our bikes as a whole.
Wow. Did he ever get the blower gear?
He did.
He did get the blower
So
gear.
the blower gear is what I think initially started putting the bike behind and behind.
Because they kept looking for that gear over and over and over. Because I follow Paul because I think Paul's
He's a badass.
He's one of those dudes that are just like, when I see Paul, he always speaks. If I see you, you always speak.
Yeah.
You know, so I make a point with Paul, like on even social media, like it, say something, see him at Sturgis, we shake hands. We may not hang out, we may not see each other the rest of the week, but at the FXR show, he's always going to speak. If I send him a message, he's always going to respond. If I text him, he's always going to respond. He's just one of those guys. He's just a genuine dude.
When you get to know these guys and you go, like I've spent the night at his house before, which is his shop. When you stay with a guy like that, when you get to know them outside of the persona that they have to put on for the world, you get to know how much they sacrifice to be a part of this world. And for me, like whether they want to put that out there in the world or not, I don't think Paul is, that's not his vibe. His thing is like, he's a manufacturer of badass stuff here in America. And that's cool. But, you know, when I got to know his kid real well on this tour, you know, and his kid is, dude, for like 21 or 22 years old, dude has got his head on his shoulders, man.
Paul's probably making him have his head on his shoulders. I mean, not if
I
you
think
can.
Paul, I mean, I've had a conversation with Paul, and I think, you know, he was telling me his kid's story, and I don't think his kid knows that I know it, but like, I'm like, I think that Paul is just like, he's just an overall like solid human.
Absolutely.
And I think that like his son it's in him to be the same way. And now he's seeing that like you can actually have a life following in your dad's footsteps as before he was kind of going another path.
Okay.
Right.
That makes sense.
And, you know, Paul's like bare knuckle performance and everything I mean, the dude's been in the industry for 20 plus years now, like producing things, and he's investing and putting back in and staying relevant and doing this shit is so hard, and people do not understand. You know, I kind of like half-assedly made a comment in the last podcast about like, you know, for the last 20 years, I've only made my money off of touching motorcycles or working around motorcycles. That is very hard to do.
No, dude, I tried it. I couldn't make it work. I got scared and bailed out, sold my business. So for somebody to stay true to it, like you have, Paul has, that's hard. People in the motorcycle or outside the motorcycle industry don't have any idea how hard it is.
It's fucking hard, dude.
And I'm just recently have started crossing over into. I'm not a car or truck builder by any stretch, but just being around that industry a little bit, it's so much different than the motorcycle industry, to where people walk in and they're like, "Hey, it's $200 an hour. It takes however many hours. I'm going to charge you for every time I look at your car or truck." To where in the motorcycle business,
Yeah.
You were like, I'm going to make 50 trips over here and 50 trips over here and pay shipping on this and do this. I'm not going to charge you for any of it. You're still going to bitch about it.
Yeah.
But in the custom car market, that doesn't fly. You're paying for every motherfucking thing an hour that they touch it.
I know a lot of the car people, they do almost like a weekly or bi-weekly.
Weekly draws.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know some guys getting cars built from Abilene, but they're getting them built outside of Abilene. The money that they're paying, we're talking $250,000, $500,000, $750,000 to get stuff built.
Yeah.
And they're paying every single week. They're sending a check. Guy sends them an invoice. Here's what it is.
Yeah.
In the motorcycle business, people would be like, I'm not paying that.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't do it. And I don't know if it's because it's recreational. I talked to another friend of mine. We were talking about what makes the difference in a guy that's willing to pay every week for something, a car that he's having built, versus if he's having a motorcycle built, and then you send him hey, I need a weekly draw. He's like, what?
Yeah.
Where's the disconnect there to where it makes that different? So building a motorcycle is, okay, let's say you're going to build an entire car. You're going to fab, you're going to make the fenders, the hood, you're going to section it, chop it, channel it. There's more hours.
Yeah.
Right? But if it's 200 an hour, it's 200 an hour. How many hours you put in it, right? You build a motorcycle, let's just say it's 200 an hour. Mm-hmm. Still relative to the amount of time you put in it, to where I feel like car guys are like, don't ever balk at 200 an hour. And motorcycle guys are like,
I think it's an investment
can
thing.
we cut that back to 100 an hour? I mean, do motorcycle guys not value the time that craftsmen put into
No, I think
their trade?
It's all the investment power. It's all that. So you build a 67 Camaro, whether you do it now and it costs you $200,000, you did it 20 years ago and it cost you $50,000, right?
Okay.
That one that cost $50,000 a long time ago, it can still bring you $50,000 right now. Those bikes, if it wasn't a Jesse James bike, or I don't even know if American chopper bikes can bring money.
They don't.
But a West Coast chopper bike that was maybe $120,000 15 years, 20 years ago, I mean, does that even still bring $120,000?
No.
No.
But so that's what I'm saying, though. But a 67 Camaro that was built that somebody paid $250,000 for might still bring $250,000.
Yeah.
I wonder why the values don't hold up the same.
Motorcycling is a different market. It's put like this.
And not
a Michael Jordan rookie card. All right. The reason there's a lot of money is because they didn't make a bunch of them. So if you have one, it's rare. Therefore, it's worth more money. But it's only worth money to the people that actually want to buy it. If I told you right now, I have a Michael Jordan rookie card right here that's worth $7,000, but I'll sell it to you for $2,000 right now, you're like, I'm not into cards.
Right.
I don't really give a shit about that. Same thing with the comic book.
That makes sense. And I guess I always forget, because like you, I love motorcycles. Mm-hmm. I always forget how small it's the Hallman says it best.
Yeah, it's the
largest, smallest industry, or I don't know exactly the term for it, but
he coined it very well.
Yeah, but it's such a small industry, I guess, that I don't think about it being as small as it is compared to the rest of the industry, I guess. If that's what I guess the other part of me is that, and this is going to probably go off subject, but so building this house, or let's say a 99% remodel of this house that I've been doing, the trades, electrical, HVAC, framing, concrete, whatever. Mm-hmm. I've noticed this. Everybody wants to get paid for their skill, even though they may not be very good at it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, like, I spent $30,000 on a framer. I shouldn't have spent $30 on.
Yeah.
And I learned the hard way. So I've done so much of this house myself, and I'm learning. So now, today, I value what you do as a painter. I'm a pretty decent metal fabricator. Like, a lot of guys may not know, because I probably do it under the radar, but I'm pretty decent at it. Like, but
you can do what you need to do.
I can. And I could probably even do more than I actually put myself out there, but I probably get a little lazy, But I'm value more now what you do as a painter or what a metal fab guy does, or whatever it is, like an engine tuner. I mean, I can navigate my way through tuning something. Not very good. I'm not going to be like a thundermax guy, the guy that really does that, or an HPI guy that's what they really do. So I'm learning the value more of like, okay, you know what? Like, I'm really like, if a guy really knows what he's doing, he can really fucking paint. I need to appreciate that and pay for it.
Okay.
Like a metal fab guy, if he really knows what the fuck he's doing, I really need to appreciate that and not pull back away from, because in this house thing, I wasn't like, hey, give me your cheapest price. And like, I'm getting referrals from people, and these guys are out there just bidding things, and I'm like, okay, that sounds good enough. And then I pay them, and it's fucking horrid. And for a long time, I've kind of been, I'm not cheap by any stretch. Like, I don't mind paying. But I've always been like, hey, what, how much is that? Well, $5,000. Hey, can we do it for $3,500?
Well, think about it like this. All right. So let's talk about a framer. Let's talk about the trades in that world, HVAC, plumbing, all this, that, and the other. I mean, if you're in Texas, especially, you go from here to my house, there's 4 fields getting filled with houses right now. So they got plenty of work, right? They do one bad job, they patch it up with some drywall. You never know it's bad. There's a lot of houses that's probably been built in the last 20 years that'll probably fall apart in the next 20 years, right?
No doubt. No doubt.
But the thing is that I've noticed in that world is that, like, they have the anonymity, or I think it's the word I'm looking for. I don't even know what the fuck that word means, but it sounds like it might work.
Nobody knows who you are?
Yeah. Is that it? Mm-hmm. Okay, so nobody knows who they are, so they can easily go fuck over this developer over here or this individual and then still have their money getting paid over here. That's why I used to tell people as a painter, if I paint your bumper on your car because you need me to help you out right quick, I don't give a fuck if it's good or not. I mean, I care, but let's just say I screw up, right? I put a run in, or the color doesn't match. At that point, now it's a waste of my time, because now I got to do it again. Like, no, dude, just take it, right? Oh, that guy fucked me over, blah, 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 right? I kind of did, because I'm doing something that I don't actually care about. Now, me as a custom painter in the motorcycle industry, I have to make sure that everything I do is on par with the quality that I tell people that I provide.
So we got to get the pricing for custom up.
But I'm always competing with the guy that paints. So if I charge $10,000 starting to paint a bagger, but there's 20 dudes out there that will pretty much do whatever they can to get that same bagger for $3,500. Now you're looking at, we were just talking about with the Everlast welders earlier. Like, what's the difference between the one that's this and this? And
so, I mean, that's where, I mean, I'm in, so in the oil and gas
so the guy
business,
that wants to pay $3,500 has to get fucked over to realize why he should have paid the guy that wants $10,000 for it. Because maybe the guy with 35 is better at graphics than me. Probably not, but
probably not.
Let's just play this card real quick. What I'm providing is security. I'm a secure investment for your money. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to screw you over, because I'll be honest with you, $10,000 ain't enough money for me to fuck over my whole existence of life.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm not going to ruin this brand that I built over $10,000.
I agree.
You know what I mean? So, bam, like, go with the guy that's $10,000 for a secure. He's going to get it done in time because he told you he would, and that's the reputation that he has to uphold in the world. Or go with the guy for $3,500 who's going to do it on the side of his job, that's going to use shitty materials, because you can't even buy materials for $3,500 fucking dollars to paint a bagger. So there's no baseline, and it's not a big enough industry like the car industry to know, okay, if the average price to restore bodywork and paint on a 67 Camaro that has no rust on it, if body is $10,000 and paint's $20,000, that's $30,000 in paint and body work. But then this guy over here is going to do the whole thing all over $5,000.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I mean, even in the industry that I'm currently in, the oil and gas business, I've been in that business 12 years. What we did 12 years ago on a daily average was $100,000 a day. Mm-hmm. Now we're at $25,000 a day.
Yeah.
These companies will hire us or hire another company for $25,000 a day to go out and fuck it up several days in a row.
Yeah.
Several days in a row.
That's capitalism.
And then come back and go, hey, can y'all come back out?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, but not for that amount of money.
Yeah, now we got to fix all this shit you just
Then
did.
we're going to go fix it all, right? So I wonder how
Security.
we get back to that playing field of like, or where does, with capitalism, like, where does it stop with valuing what you do?
All right, so let me tell you, ask you this. Let's go back to 2005, right? The height of, hands down the height, right? $120,000 bikes, everything's going good. There's a chopper shop in every corner. They're about as common as powder coaters, right? No offense, Matt. But then, these guys that come in that don't provide the quality work of a Covington or a West Coast Choppers or a Eddie Trotta or any of these people, right? Name your guy. But these guys have the signage, they got the look, and so they hook, line, and sink all these guys that want to come in and spend money, and they're going to get a couple $70,000 chopper builds, right? But they don't know what the fuck they're doing, right? So now these guys go and they spend $70,000, they get screwed over, they, might not even get their bikes, right? They might get screwed out of money. Then maybe they pulled a big bear and they just completely said, hey, sorry, we went out of business. All your money is now gone, and
all your money's now in our account, and you're not getting it back.
Exactly. So that could happen, right? So what that does is that puts a stain on our industry as a whole for years to come, because kind of like those guys that got fucked over then, they're still buying power today.
They're more buying power probably.
Exactly. Today. And now you know what? I tried to spend $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 on a bike once, and I almost lost everything in life for that. They're not going to do that again, right? So every time you have a scene that gets big and you got actual bad, people that are real solid people to put that money, those guys get booked. Hey, you want to get a West Coast Chopper? There's a waiting list. You want to get this? There's a waiting list. You want to get, and then these guys want it now for Daytona so they can show off. Right. So they go to this other guy that's cheaper that somehow is going to do all this magic that this dude charges $120,000 for $50,000. Somehow he can get the wheels quicker than this guy can, right? Next thing you know, you're $50,000 in the hole with this guy, and he's hitting you up for another $10,000 because he overshot his budget. Right. And now you're just getting fucked. And then the quality's not there because the dude never could do it. So and the car industry has this as well, and it's been like that forever. But I think that because there's 100 TV shows about car building and industry, that it's re-educated the consumer to go into car builds with a different mindset. And even though some of these shows are kind of cringy, your Gas Monkey and this, they're faking what they bought the car for. But the bottom line is they're putting prices out there that is starting to educate people. This costs this much money. And
I think I want people to be educated with that.
Yeah.
I've been going, I think SEMA's I have fun at SEMA. I love SEMA. I've been going every year since, I think 19. Yeah. 18, 19. So a buddy of mine that I hang out with, he's my best friend. Mm-hmm. So we go to SEMA, and he's been building cars his whole life. Drag cars, worked in an automotive shop. His dad had one. We go to SEMA, and he's been around a lot of stuff. And we get to SEMA, and he's like, what the fuck? These cars are perfect. Yeah. He's like, this is a whole different level that I didn't even know existed. Mm-hmm. He's like, there were some Kindig cars. And he's like, I thought it was just a gimmick TV show. Mm-hmm. And then he's looking at them. He's like, fuck, man, these cars are so fucking perfect that I can't find something wrong with them.
I think when the TV show thing first kind of started coming out with all these different car people, it was kind of gimmicky, and there was some people just making it for TV. But I think that because that TV industry of car culture has gotten so big that now they have to produce the quality of cars that they're showing the people that they are. So I think that it's just grown the industry. If the biker culture could have grown past the fact, I'm imagining that because it's such a passion-based world, you're always going to have these dudes that don't give a shit about customizing. And customizing is what's going to be the thing that sells to people. Like, if you're going to put a TV show on, there's two things that are interesting to people: customizing bikes and outlaw biker culture. Those are the only two things that people care about. They don't care about the wild hogs.
Right.
Even though I think that's the most interesting thing, because that's the most unexploited demographic of motorcycling. It doesn't, no guy wants to be like, yeah, I am having a midlife crisis. And I think that motorcycles can reconnect me to who I am as a person and show me like my purpose in life. And that sounds gay. You know what I'm saying? But I want to be in.
You know what?
I think I can fit 2 more rings on my ring finger.
At 50 years old, I don't know that it sounds gay.
No, it doesn't
I really
to me.
don't.
But if you're looking for an identity, you have your identity, right? You know who the fuck Cody Childress is.
Some days.
Yeah,
some
true,
days I
right?
do, you know, like,
Good
I mean,
one, yeah.
I think I do. And then some days I question it, you know, I mean, there's like, I'm envious of the amount of riding you get to do.
It's a sacrifice, man. Like, when you see my house in a minute, you'll see.
No, but I mean, I am envious of that. Like,
I could have did the floors, but I went on the trip.
yeah, but there's days that like, I think about, I mean, I look at that and I go, fuck, man, I should have rode more, you know, my brother's gone, my dad's gone. We'd always had these trips planned. Mm-hmm. We never took them.
Yeah.
I look back and I'm like, fuck, I should have rode more. You know, I think I fell in love with the customizing part of it more than I did the riding part of it. And right now I'm kind of like, man, I really just want a bike I can get on and ride, not be as worried about if I'm going to scratch the fucking paint. You know, so maybe it's the seasons you go through of trying to figure that out. But I think getting off topic, but I want to see people, not that I want people to pay more, but I want to see people
invest more?
Invest in, if they want you to do a paint job, to be willing to pay for that paint job. They want somebody like TPJ to make them a certain part. Pay for the part. Like, don't, you know, like one thing about Paul that I will say, Paul's very, very staunch and he doesn't give on his American made. Like, he's going to produce a really solid part. He's going to charge you accordingly. People are like, oh, fuck that. I'll buy it from B-Twin for half the price. Like,
and that's fine.
Stop doing it. But it's
well,
not.
It's not fine, but that's always, I mean.
It's going to be there. It's always going to be there, right? I think I'm just at the point in my life I want to see people put the value back into. Nobody at Ted's V-Twin is putting value back into this industry. Paul is.
Yeah.
Right?
But you got to get people to like love this world, this culture enough to where they feel like they want to give back to it.
And maybe it's because it's so small, and I think it's so big because it's big to me. The motorcycle industry to me is huge, but when you get down to it, we're just
when I think about how
small.
you know, like how many people I've got to know and meet I'm like, this is not a big industry. Like 20 years might seem like a long time to somebody that's 20 years old right now, but looking back on it, like, I don't feel like I should know the people I know yet, you know. But to your point of like, you know, I would say that like people have to learn how to, there's nothing cooler in my opinion than riding a custom motorcycle across country. You're gonna fuck it up. It's gonna get scratched. Things are gonna be fucked up on the bike, and if you build bikes thinking of it as an investment that you're going to get your money back later, you are hindering yourself from experiencing it the way that it's designed to be experienced.
And I've never thought that. Like, that's never been a hindrance for me. Like, I've never been worried about scratching this or scratching that. But I've always been the guy that's like, okay, so it's Friday, I get paid. I got $100. I can give you $100 today for this, or I can wait. I'm just going to use a month as a number, right?
Yeah.
I can wait 4 Fridays and have $400. So for that $400, I can get what I really wanted.
Yeah, that comes with age.
One Friday, I spend $100 and get what I could afford.
That's every day. That's why there's financing for everything in the world.
I get it, but I'm like, even if you're financing it, I think maybe we go back to patience.
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna wait a little while and get what I truly want.
Yeah, think about it. You could probably just buy it if you just wait a month. Now you're gonna finance it through a firm because you want it right now so that you can, hopefully it'll ship quick enough for bike night
now
next
we're
week.
going back to that lens that we look through versus instant gratification. So I think that's where I'm willing to wait like long periods of time for it to be a certain way, to where some people are like, here's my $100 on Friday. I can get my brother's cousin's uncle's dad to throw down on it, right?
There's like put like this, like, you know, the pictures that are in the studio right now, like these up here, that FXR, the bagger behind you, it's like, that's in Glamis, that's in Monument Valley, that's at the Salt Flats. And each time I have a different custom bike on there. And for me, in looking back at my life, my legacy, whatever the fuck it's, you know, what I'm allowed to call it, right?
I would say legacy.
I would say that, like, if everything went away, like, I see that photo and it like, if the internet doesn't see it, nobody else sees it but me. It's like, for me, I want to go back and look at, because when I see that photo, I immediately think about that moment there, but I also think of that moment leading up, building that bike, customizing that bike. It's like I'm put back into that headspace. And so when I try to tell people, it's like, when you customize a bike and you do it for yourself, right? You do it for yourself, and hopefully, if you're doing the motorcycle game right, you're probably you want to get to the point where you can keep every bike you ever build for yourself, right? That's a hard place to be.
Yeah,
that is a goal that I'm trying to achieve. I want to be a Rick Fairless where I can look at every bike I've had built, or at least buy back the ones I had to sell to keep me going, right? So for me, it's like, you know, if you customize your Dyna and you put 70,000 miles on it traveling, it's like, man, just keep that motherfucker. What are you going to give that away for $12,000 or $7,000 or $5,000? Keep it. And, you know, if you don't customize it again or whatever, but man, like, think about all the memories you had on it.
You can't. I mean, that bike costs you whatever it costs you, but that picture right there is a priceless picture, right? I don't have any of the bikes that I'd like to have.
Neither do I. That's why my FXR, I built it with the sole purpose of not ever getting rid of it.
Well, and I hope you don't. I mean, but I see what you're saying, though. Like, I get that, the aspect of being able, like, I mean, Rick Fairless is a great example. I mean, you get to walk in over there, and the dude's got every bike he's built in the last, I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
And that's just what you're seeing. There's no telling what he's got.
Oh, he's got a ton more, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are like, those are for you to see. Yeah. But I mean, like, that's the thing. It's like, you know, like, I get it, man. There's a lot of money involved in bikes, and maybe you're not single, you have a family, you have a wife, you got mortgage, you got all these things, and you have to find a way to, like, justify these purchases to, you know, the better half of the relationship. And I get that. And I'm not going to give you any advice, because I run my household differently.
Yeah, I haven't
you know what
found
I mean?
it. I haven't found it.
But the thing is, like, motorcycling can be this most amazing thing, but when you apply a limitation to how you experience it based on money, then you're never going to get the true human experience that you can get out of motorcycling, because you've capped what you're willing to do based on, like, how much you're willing to spend. But yet you'll go spend 10 grand at Disneyland for the kids. You'll go spend 10 grand to go sit on a beach and drink, you know, whatever, you know, margaritas and shit.
Mai Tais.
But then, like, realistically,
I'm guilty of that. I mean, you're talking about me.
But then, you know, you can't just take the time off and go ride across country and rough it in a campsite or in a Motel 6 parking lot, you know, kind of thing. Like, when I travel, we're not staying at the Hyatt. You know what I mean? I'm sleeping on couches, and it makes the experience better, right? But
see, I've got to make that effort. Like, I need to get on something and ride with some guys like you that, like, I need to see it through a different lens.
Oh yeah. The best part is, like, when you're in these badass places that you have a bike that you can take a picture of there, even if it's on your phone, and be like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I need to see it through a different lens. Just, you know, I've looked at it through a different lens for so long. I need to see it through that lens of, like, looking at those pictures. Like, I need to see it through that lens.
I mean,
because I've always got the excuse of, like, hey, you know, my kids are this, or my kids are that, or my wife this, or I'm doing this, and for
me, it's been a way to stay connected to bikes. Like, for me, it keeps me willing to keep pouring. Like it's an addiction. This industry is this motorcycle thing is an addiction. 100%. It's like it makes no fucking sense. You're spending all your money and all you have is these amazing experiences. At some point in time, maybe in my life, just like Rick Fairless was in here yesterday.
I'm good.
Good.
He was in here yesterday telling me like his ride, how he grew his business and things like that. Maybe at some point in time, like I'll be in a position to give like my advice to somebody and whatnot. And I don't know if this shit works yet. I mean,
I will say this. I think that being steadfast, staying true to what you're doing, no matter how tough it gets, in the end, you win. Like if you just never fucking give up what you're doing. Which I feel like you're kind of in that space. Like at this point, like you're like,
I'm going to go learn how to, work in the oil field.
Well, yeah, right. Like, I mean, so for me, 2008, the fucking market went to shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had a 1-year-old. Instead of saying, you know what, I'll just ride this out. I can make this work. I got fucking scared. Sold my business to a fucking kid that was willing to give me some money for it because I wanted the safety net. So then it was like, all right, well, I'll get back into it. And I was just always scared to get back into it. So believe it or not, guys like me that look at guys like you and my buddy Hallman, he loves to say he's not a success story, but he's grinding it fucking out.
He's working on bikes every day.
Grinding out, and he'll call and he's fucking bitching and fucking, but he ain't throwing the hat in. I mean, he ain't throwing the towel in. So he grinds it out and grinds it out and grinds it out. And you can like the guy or hate the guy or whatever. He grinds it out and he adds some value to the motorcycle industry, I threw the towel in. I'm always going to look back and go, man, what if I didn't? So I have a respect for guys like you, for guys like Jason, guys like Brad Barnes, that just continually fight. And then, because if you guys don't fight, right?
Yeah.
Then it goes away.
It dies. Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So for me, I was the guy that I got scared and got out. And then I've always had this like regret of like, I still get like, I dip one foot in it. Right. And I dip one foot in it and then I kind of dip one foot in it and like build something cool and then kind of like I'm in and out. Like I don't think I'll ever do it full time as a business. As far as motorcycling, it's just that just motorcycling because I don't believe in myself enough to do just that. Yeah.
So on that note, like I would say that like I don't look at, you're on this podcast right now because I value you as a person, everything you've done, and just the friendship we've had, right? So it's not like, okay, well, you don't have a bike shop. I mean, you're by terms like you're a guy, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I had Rick Fairless in here yesterday. Now I have Cody Childress. But to me, Cody Childress,
good that makes me feel.
Yeah, but to me, Cody Childress is a motherfucker that like I value your opinion because of your experience and time in this game, in this motorcycle world. And sometimes what's unique and beneficial about you is that you are able to see things from a different lens. And I think Jason or myself can see because we're so involved, right?
He always tells me, he goes, you're the most known, unknown person I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to take that. But I guess, I mean, that is a good way to
look
at it. Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you. But I guess it's for me, the guys that have stayed in it, like, I mean, Rick Fairless and I mean, I've tried to get to know Rick.
Yeah.
It's been tough. I mean, like, I've tried. It's just been a tough highway to drive down.
Yeah.
Not for any reason other than probably demographics.
Yeah.
For where I live. But, I mean, you can say whatever you want about the guy. He's been tried and true to this industry for fucking, 35 years or something.
1996 is right when he started it, the Easy Rider shop.
Yeah, Easy Rider.
So it'll be 30 years in 2 years.
And so guys that have fought, there's a guy in Abilene where I live. His name's Jerry White. He owns a place called Motorcycle Specialty. So Jerry's 74 years old, I think now, maybe 75. Just an old school bike shop. Like him and his wife both run it together. And so that's kind of where I frequent, like just go by to say hi, how you doing? Like, man, we had our best year ever. We made 26 grand this year. Huh? Like they drive, they have a pickup, they share it. Yeah. They do everything together. They work. And I'm not hating on them. I'm when I'm talking about them, I'm talking about them out of respect for his ability passion, to carry. He's ridden to Sturgis. This last year was the first year he hadn't ridden to Sturgis in 27 years. He rides a 53 Panhead. He built a chassis for it. It's in a softail frame. They've ridden that bike, that motor. They've ridden that to Sturgis for 26, 27 years in a row. He changed the chassis from a rigid frame to a softail frame. But he's carried that torch for so fucking long that I'm like, why do y'all keep doing it? Like, you're 75 years old, you're drawing Social Security, and he's like, I love fucking motorcycles.
Yeah, dude.
And last year when he didn't go, I'm like, you're not going? He's like, I'm not. He's like, we just physically can't do it this year. But they've grinded and grinded and grinded and grinded and for fucking ever. But that one trip they take to Sturgis every year and they ride together, and he's like, my bike will run 60 mile an hour top speed with both of us on it.
Dude, that's rad.
And
I kind of want to do a podcast with this guy. He sounds like he's.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, if he would do it,
I'll come out there for that.
He's 75, and he's probably got more cool fucking real life chopper stories. Like not being an outlaw. He's as close to anybody in the motorcycle industry that's unknown. Like, you want to talk about the true most unknown dude that's done all the shit? Dude, he's I don't know the right word, but he's done so fucking much and been around the industry for so long. Like, Harley Davidson made him come in. He had Harley tattoos all over him. Harley Davidson filed suit against him.
You serious?
And made him cover every one of them.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, real true story.
Wow.
All his Harley tattoos were blacked out because he owned a shop. It's called Motorcycle Specialties, and it had like some wings and shit. So they made him come in and they blacked out.
And it's probably in the 80s when they started copyrighting all their shit. And like,
probably so, yeah.
Yeah.
And his son's name is Harley. Lives in Austin. Dude, I'm telling you this. If you when you like, you see these biker like shows and you see this, like, I'm like, why is, like, he should be famous for motorcycles, right? Because he's done like everything that you should do by all the standards of what you and I probably believe in, custom motorcycling. And I mean, he's built his frames, built his motors, done all the machine work, painted his stuff, works the front counter. Like, he's almost like a legend that nobody even knows about. Yeah,
the weird thing about how do you take that's true passion and make something about that famous is like, the fame only comes to the people that are
it's not wanted it ever.
Yeah, but like, that only comes to people that put themselves in a position to be noticed and recognized for it. The only way you get in a magazine back in the day, when in 2002, 3, 4, is you had to go to an Easy Rider event. You had to go to Sturgis. You had to go to all these events for your bike to be seen, because there was no Instagram. There was no place to put it, right? You had to put yourself out.
I wish I could pull up a picture of his bike on something. I can't even. You can't even pull a picture of it.
Yeah, and so like,
it doesn't exist.
How do you say he builds a bike, and I'm not trying to discredit this dude in any kind of way, and that's not where I'm going with it. But let's just say, like, in 1995, like, he builds his version of the baddest motherfucker in the world, and he goes to Sturgis, and it's also the year that Arlen Ness drops some bike that becomes the,
So for all intents and purposes, you got, and I'm not discrediting Rick Fairless. Rick Fairless has built an empire.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry White's built some bikes. Mm-hmm. Jerry White would outbuild Rick Fairless 10 out of 10 days, right? But they go like this.
Yeah.
Rick Fairless grows the empire, has all these fantastic bikes. This guy that's been tried and true to the industry and built everything himself.
He's the most punk rock thing that Harley has, right?
Yeah.
He's the guy that didn't, they call it selling out or whatnot, but, I think ultimately, that, like, what I was going to, like, kind of chime in earlier is, when I was growing up, man, I was around a lot of Harley culture because of my family, my mom and her dude and my uncles. Like, I remember going to field parties as a kid, you know, and running around with Easy Riders looking at titties and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? In the 80s, right? And so in the 90s, whenever we were still around a lot of these people, like, there'd be like dudes sleeping on the couches in the house. They got beers, but they got a Harley. And I just like, these fucking people are losers, dude. You know? And that's what I felt like. But now, like, looking back on it, I'm like, man, that dude that was sleeping on that couch had friends still. He wasn't homeless. He wasn't a bum. He was probably traveling across country, or he was in town, or he was doing this. And he's living like whatever's left of the American dream of being free. And maybe his relationship didn't work out. He didn't have a 4-bedroom house and a 6-car garage and 2 kids in college. Like that, those are all accomplishments that we should all like praise any individual for having it, right? But the thing is, like, when you're in a position like mine in this industry where you've literally made a lot of bad decisions financially to stay involved in this, my life looks like that guy's life now. And now I have a different respect for that guy that I saw in 1992 sleeping on the couch. Because I'm like, oh, fuck, like, you know, I'm like your buddy right there. You know,
and that's like my dad.
I might have the notoriety through social media right now, but I don't have the money of Rick Fairless or even the business to where I can ever make that kind of money.
So, I mean, I feel like that's like my dad. Like I watched my dad be a biker for 40 years of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is he doing? And then I look back and go, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, he did whatever he wanted. Mm-hmm. I'm doing what I have to do. Now,
doing what you want has a cost, though, right?
Oh, 100%. So when I look at it, and don't get me wrong, my 2 kids are my, I mean, they're everything to me.
Yeah.
Like that was a life-changing experience.
I kind of like mine, too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, like, if you don't, there's some worried about you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But, like, my dad, he was like, hey, I brought y'all here. Like, I got y'all this far. Like, I got y'all born. You're on your own, right?
Yeah.
And so he was a fucking biker. Mm-hmm. Not an outlaw biker, but in a sense, he just, like, you know, I mean, there's a story, like at his funeral and at my wedding, and my dad, there was a story of my mom saying, you know, I was little and needed milk. And she was like, hey, Kurt, can you get some milk? And my dad had a 53 panhead, rigid frame bike, sissy bar, you know, and he was like, yeah, I'll get some milk. So he leaves, right? It's like Wednesday, right?
You had to say the day. I already know where this is going.
So he doesn't come back.
Yeah.
So my mom calls his best friends, like, George. His name is George Christie. So I don't know if you know George Christie.
The HA dude?
Well, no.
Okay.
So, you know the guy in the Easy Rider movie at the end when he gets shot off his bike?
Yeah.
So his last name was Christie. So my dad's best friend was George Christie. That was his brother that did the stunt in that movie.
Okay.
I don't know why I even said that, but a lot of people, when they hear George Christie, they're like, oh, that George? I'm not different George Christie. But so my mom calls George and is like, hey, George, you seen Kurt? I think I know where he's at, right? So he's like, well, can you find him? So George goes over to this house and raps on the door. You know, my dad comes out fucking naked. What's up? Milk still strapped to the sissy bar of the bike 5 days later, right? And I'm like, I told my mom, I'm like, but you were cool with that? She's like, that's just who your dad was.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, my wife would fucking stab me.
Yeah.
If she sent me after milk and I didn't come home for a week, you know?
Man, we gave him too much power, dude.
I mean, but that's one thing about Jerry that I guess where
there goes that
track.
Harley money.
What I respect about Jerry is that he stayed. So there's this weird thing of, like you're talking about, like, I respect him so much because he's never wavered from who he was. His motorcycle affliction, he loved them. I mean, his every single day was nothing but motorcycles.
Yeah.
That's all he's ever done. Like I say, he's got to be 75. He's not had another job. He's not quit. He's making $20,000 a year. I mean, she told me their worst year they made $12,000 between the two of them. But they never fucking.
But he's got an old lady, a bike, I mean, like, if you really think about it, when you get down to the end, like, all you want to do is be surrounded by something that means something to you.
When I go to Sturgis, I go by, I'm like, hey, tell me again what route you took. Like, for 27 years, they've had the same fucking route. They stop here, they stop here, they stop here. They're on a first-name basis with every bartender between here and Sturgis. They know where they're sleeping. They know where they're camping.
Yeah.
And I'm jealous of that. Like, I'm like, fuck, man.
It ain't too late, man.
No, it's not. And I'm going to do that. Like, we've like Brad, Jason, other guys. I mean, now you and I are talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, I need to ride. Like, I need to ride. And I want to do some chopper shit. Not even some road glide shit. I want to do some, like, chopper shit, camp on the fucking at 50.
I haven't camped as much as I promoted it, but at the same time, you know, like,
it does get cold, and
it gets cold, but like if it's like honestly, like say this at the FXR, right? So I'm used to being on a ST or road glide where I can easily, if I have to, I can do 1,000 miles, 700, 600, 500. You know, each one lower is easier, but if I have to do it, I can do it. This FXR, I feel so fucking cool riding it till 200 miles. After 200 miles, I'm like, you're annoyed. You're annoyed a little bit. You're like, how much further? Like, you just start getting kind of, but then if I get off, I can get back on, like, oh, fuck yeah, hell yeah. And I can get another 50 out of it. And I'm like,
So talking about this dude from Abilene, Jerry.
Yeah.
So there's days that they would tell me, like, would ride 150 miles. Mm-hmm. You know, ride 150 miles, and like, we're tired, we're getting off.
That's the goal.
They would take 5 days to get there.
Yeah.
Stay a week at Sturgis and take 5 days to get home.
See, that's the goal. That's what I've always. I guess I poorly described it. It's never been about, like, you do 1,000 miles or fuck off. And I probably said that. So much words have been said on this podcast, but
if people listen to that and take that like so true, like it's like a fucking tattoo.
Yeah, you're not allowed
to.
Like,
we're talking, we're drinking, we're fucking having fun.
At 35 years old, 32 years old, when I started traveling on bikes cross country, I didn't have the ability to take off work that much time.
Yeah.
And even as a self-employed guy, I just couldn't. I had to be able to make money, so. You know, you do those like hard pushes to get away from things so that you can experience the further away distances, right? Like if you're going to go to the Pacific Northwest or Maine from Dallas, you got to get the fuck out of here. You can't be like stopping in Little Rock 350 miles away and spending the night and then making it to, you know, Nashville if you're ever going to get to Maine.
Right.
Because Maine's the destination, not Nashville, not Little Rock. You need to get the fuck out there, right? And so now as you get older, you get to be at this point where you can like, all right, now I've seen Maine, I've seen Washington, I've seen Key West and San Diego. Now I want to take my time and see what I rode by so quickly.
Not having a mile goal. Right?
No,
like,
well, it's
if you go 30, let's say 35 miles, probably not enough, but let's say you go 50 miles and you see something you want to see. Yeah. Be okay with stopping and checking it out for a day, right?
That's where I'm at right now.
If the next day you go 500 miles, okay, cool. But if the next day you go 90 miles and you're like, okay, we hit Chadron, Nebraska, and there's a cool little fucking hole in the wall bar.
Good hole of walls in Chadron.
No, there is.
Yeah.
And so you want to chill there for 2 days. Like,
I don't know about 2 days. The thing is, like, when you're on the bike, you.
But if you wanted to.
You could, yeah. That's the point. It's like you want to give yourself the freedom to not do that, but you also like, and when you're a solo, the smaller your group, the easier and more modular you can make that stuff. The more, we call them, like when we do our travels, we call them freestyle days, where we don't have anything booked. We don't know where we're going to go. But when you want to have that spot or that Monument Valley campsite, you got to book that in advance. You don't show up and just crash.
Okay.
So if you want to have that experience, then you have to plan for that. That means that you have to be there at that time to get that. So there's having a handful of those like locations. Like on this trip, you know, Matt was on it. We stayed in Big Sur on the coast of California. Right. That was amazing. Mm-hmm. We had a fire. It was like I think we were all coming off. We all fell in love with, or at least I fell in love with the clam chowder.
Yeah.
So we were at the.
Yeah, that was a clam chowder trip.
So it was like. this amazing experience being on the coastline of California. I would turn my road glide on, and then my little bike was on the edge of America on the little map thing. Like, it was dope. But you don't show up to that and just fucking crash. Like, you don't happenstance that. You got to have, if you want to have some of these like really dope spots, sometimes you got to plan. And so you got to leave enough space
to make that
make some kind of goals within the trip. Like, if you're going to go on the road for a week, be realistic with your time. But like, you know, I know that I can cram a lot of shit in 7, 8, 9 days. So I got to figure out where I want to cram it in and where I want to enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? So
well, that makes sense. I mean, if you know you've got to be somewhere, like, I mean, the furthest I've ever ridden in one day is 1,000 miles.
And that's more. I mean, honestly, I've only done 1150 is the most that I've ever done.
But I knew when I left where I was leaving that I had to be in Abilene, Texas by X number. So I was like, all right, got up early, boom, 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
So I guess if you know like your destination or what you're gonna do, then you got to press really hard to get there. Like, I just thought Big Sur was open to whoever wanted to go through there and fucking check it out.
That was even before COVID. Now after COVID, like, you got to fucking book these like national park places, even to go through national parks.
Really?
You can't just mosey upon. Like,
Fuck
if
COVID.
you want to ride through
Fuck all
Zion
that
now,
bullshit, yeah.
you have to get a pass. You want to go through? You want to go to Grand Canyon? You got to get a pass, and you have between 2 and 4 to drive through this motherfucker now. It's different now, so it's just different. But you know what that's done? It's made all these other places that may not have been the big grand like destination way more appealing because they're not blown out on Instagram.
I really don't even care. I mean, I'm not that I don't care. Like, I can remember back 2005, 6, 7 when Paramount Custom Cycles was really big. Mm-hmm. They were Reno, Nevada, NorCal guys. They were in Big Sur all the time. Like, they would show like flip phone pictures of like I don't know if you know Ray. You follow Ray on Instagram?
I feel like I do.
So Ray used to hang around with the Paramount guys, and I don't know if he inherited a bunch of money or what, but I feel like he's just does whatever he wants.
Yeah,
I felt like he was in Big Sur all the time.
Maybe he sells weed.
Well, maybe. I mean, that's with them. That's what the guys from Paramount are. I mean, they started Pharmacy Factory. They're fixing to be big time in that game. But for me, I don't even think it's Big Sur or like
Monument Valley. Yeah,
Monument Valley. I mean, I wouldn't know where that's at without you telling me.
Yeah.
Like, I work in the shithole part of New Mexico on occasion, and if we propped your bike up just right with the sun behind you,
it looks like that.
They look like that.
Yeah.
My thing right now where I'm at is I want, like I was telling Brad and Jason, I was like, I want to ride to Sturgis with some guys, not on a time frame. If we want to stop, we see a little like creek and we want to camp at the creek or whatever. And I know there's more logistics to it than just pulling over camping. But although when my dad was doing it, they just pulled over and camped. Mm-hmm. They probably got ran off occasionally. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, you can't camp here. But I want to do that trip with just let's stop here. And, you know, like, I guess it was last year before. Not this year, the year before. When Jason and I stayed at the fucking Buffalo Chip fucking hellhole. That's a funny fucking story, too. I'll have to tell in a minute. It's so funny. But Natalie Kleiner. You know Natalie. Yeah. Such a rad chick.
Awesome chick, yeah.
So her and Paul and that group, they go ride during Sturgis. So they were like, hey, go ride with us. Well, they stop and they have this watering hole they go to and they go swim and shit. And I'm like, fuck, I'm so fucking jealous. That's what I want to do. I want to ride to fucking Sturgis. And if I see a fucking pond, I want to jump in the motherfucker. Yeah. I want to stop here and have a beer and I want to keep going. But I've gotten to this age of where I'm like, am I too mature for that? Like, should I have a couple beers and keep riding, or should I stop down there and swim, or but I want to do that. Like, I've got to get back off this path of doubt, self-doubt, maybe,
or feel like you got to put yourself in a box based on like some parameter, like your age or your like what you want people outside to see you as, kind of thing.
I mean,
right?
I want to throw my wife on the back. I've got a great looking wife. I want to throw on the back. I'm like, let's ride to Sturgis. Let's camp. Let's swim in these fucking, like.
I got a great looking wife too, and it doesn't work that easy.
My wife's like, I don't fucking want to do that.
She doesn't want to do any of that shit.
What's the going rate for it? portrait.
Man, I haven't airbrushed in a long time. It's been almost a year. It's not as common as as it was back in the day, and like people don't really request it as much.
Really?
So it's like by the time the last portrait I did was in November of last year, and at that point it was like every 3 months or so I'd get one. You know what I mean? And it was just hard to stay in practice with the whole craft. You know what I mean? Because I'm barely doing it. And so now pushing myself not to do it. That's what I was saying. Like doing the FXR, I wanted to airbrush on it, but I tried it and I was like, wow. Like I thought it was be like riding a bicycle. I'm way behind the curve now. I got to spend some time. I actually have some airbrush portraits on order, but I'm not ready yet. You know what I mean?
When you get ready, let me know. 'Cause I'd like to.
So
I want to do another one.
it's a tough one, man. But going back to like what you were talking about with traveling and stuff, the thing is like you don't have to do the camping. You don't have to make it. You don't have to make it uncomfortable. The uncomfortable part is like it's not the most comfortable thing to travel on a motorcycle across the country. But what it is it's giving you a view of like the landscape in the world, and you're feeling it. Every one of your senses is on something. When you're in your truck, you just kind of like you don't even remember the last 10 miles,
it's
right?
Fucking
You can drive by Monument Valley and not even notice it because you're just it's like you're looking at a computer screen. It's a TV show, right? And I guess in a helmet you can have the same concept, but you feel it. You feel the wind. Even if you got a jacket on, you feel it kind of creeping through. You feel the wind flapping on your pants legs. You smell the different air that you go through. Oh shit, this supposed to be a cattle town right here, huh? You just feel so much different, and all day long your senses are getting challenged differently. And then when you finally like get to like say, all right, we're staying in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and you have a friend or two, or you're alone, and you're like, all right, here's my hotel. Where's the fucking place to get some drinks here? And so you go sit down, and I've done this so much traveling solo. Like I was in Gunnison, Colorado, and I remember I landed there before dark, and I was like, holy shit, like I got time to go like change, take a shower, and go find a steakhouse. And I sat down and had a steak, and then I was like, hell yeah, it was good. I ate alone, and I felt great because I was able to reflect on all the things that I felt like I experienced that day, riding from Salt Lake to Gunnison, Colorado. And then I was like, man, I think I'm going to go pay this tab. I'm going to go sit at the bar and close this bitch down. And I did. Drank, had a good time, had a couple conversations with some locals, went back to my fucking hotel room and slept like a goddamn baby.
See, but I want to do that. Like, that's... Don't get me wrong. I mean, trailering to Sturgis, the guys I've done it with, we've had fun, but we've missed out on what we're doing.
Well, it's because you put something else on a pedestal above it. Like the pedestal above it was...
It's just laziness.
Yeah, time. I've heard everybody's reason for trailering, and I get it, man. Like if you're in Jason's shoes, Lakeland, Florida, to go to Sturgis, that's a journey to get to Sturgis.
So he always comes to Abilene first.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's 20 hours just to get here.
Yeah.
And we're another 20 from Abilene there.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what we've been talking about. I was like, dude, we got to do it. We've got to fucking ride from Abilene to fucking Sturgis.
I'll tell you what. Like I started going to Sturgis, kind of taking the Covington route, going up through Woodward, and Dodge City, and kind of like the middle. No major highways, just kind of like the middle. Dude, Dodge City's a shit.
Is it?
It's pretty cool. There's some good steakhouses.
Because I want to do it. Like I'm. Like
When
that's one of the things I really want to do. Like I almost want to do it. How am I? Sorry, I'm not.
No, you're good.
It's by me. I almost want to do it, and go back to how I think. Like my dad did Sturgis. I mean, my dad was a biker's biker. Other than being an outlaw, he was just a fucking biker. Mm-hmm. So I know he went to Sturgis a lot, but I don't know really how he did it.
Yeah.
And then I know he did West Coast a lot, but I don't know how they did it. So I want to do Sturgis, like I feel like maybe my dad would have done it. Whether he would have or not, I think just for me, just to check something off my list of, I want to just go, and if I make it to fucking Snyder on day one, then I'll stop in Snyder. Yeah. If I make it to, I used to be familiar with Colorado. I'm not as much anymore, but if I make it to, Dumas, maybe I'll stay in Dumas.
Yeah.
I just want to do it. I mean, like, that's something I want to do. Like, it's on my radar of not even as much as the custom motorcycle part of it, but
just riding.
I keep telling myself I want to do it on a rigid frame chopper, and I'm like,
I still want to do that too.
I'm like, you're 50, and I'm like, but yeah, but don't be a bitch. But I'm 50.
I did it on a FXR chopper, and it sucks.
Yeah, and so, but I keep telling myself that I can do it, and then, we keep talking about it. But I brought it up earlier, talking about Sturgis, not this year, but last year. Hallman and I went to Sturgis, and I'm not knocking Hallman, but if you know him,
yeah, sometimes
his stories get maybe a little bigger than what they really are, right? Yeah. So
he's enthusiastic.
No knocking you, Hallman, but this is funny.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, we're gonna stay at the Chip. I was like, okay, why? He's like, man, I got VIP passes to all the concerts. I got VIP campground. I got everything. Like, so I was like, okay. So he comes to Abilene, and we load our shit up. And, I don't even have a fucking bike. He brings me a bike to ride, and it's just like he's doing me a bunch of favors.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, all right, man, whatever. So I was like, you got all handled? He's like, oh, dude, we got like VIP everything. I'm like, fuck yeah, man. So we fucking get to Sturgis, and we get to the Chip, and we pull up. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I got to get in line. I'm like, for what? He's like, well, we got to get our camp spot. I'm like, well, I thought we were all VIP. We had all the fucking wristbands and could go do whatever we want, He's like, yeah, we're going to. I'm like, all right. So we get this fucking, it's rain, there's fucking mud everywhere,
Yeah.
So we were sitting there. So he's on the phone. So dude comes over, and they're talking. I was like, what's up? He's like, well, we got to wait in line for a minute. I'm like, VIPs don't wait in line. Yeah. Like, we just get in, right? Mm-hmm. So dude comes over on a four-wheeler, and he's like, hey, y'all follow me. So I was like, all right, fuck yeah. About to get our spot.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably a lot high maintenance.
Yeah.
Like, I like showers, hot showers. Like, I like warm when it's cold, and I like cold when it's warm.
Yeah.
So probably a little high maintenance, but I feel like my time in the Army and my time in the oil field probably gave me maybe a little bit of a pass on camping. But
you don't have anything to prove.
So we start following this fucking four-wheeler, and I'm like, fuck, dude, we're gonna run out of the county. Like, where are we staying? Aren't we staying at the Chip? And he goes, yeah. We keep going. So we cross over the fucking highway. Mm-hmm. So, and there's a little bar, and I forget, it's called like Camp Zero.
Oh, yeah.
Camp Zero, right?
Stayed there once.
Yeah. So we keep going past Camp Zero.
Oh, shit.
Keep going. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Where are we? By this time it's dark. So they finally get us a spot, and we're
You over there with the ATVs and shit running around?
Yes.
Okay.
So the next morning, we get parked. We kind of get it level, stay hooked up. We're just like fucking ready to fucking just call it a day. Like, we're driven for, for an old dude, a long time. So the next morning, it's like 7:30. There's fucking ATVs fucking jumping. So I get up and I open the door, and there's fucking dust everywhere. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we're going to be with this shit all week?
Yeah.
All fucking week long? He's like, yeah, I guess so. I was like, this is VIP? This is the VIP shit right here. Like, this is what, he had to do a podcast.
Yeah.
We did a podcast at the Chip, not this year, but last year, to get this spot, right? So I'm like, all right, fuck, whatever, man. So then we kind of get up, get our fucking legs around us, and I'm like, God damn, it stinks, man. I'm like, what the fuck is that fucking smell, man? I'm like, I think your RV's fucked up. Like, you're fucking, Blackwater thing's fucked up or whatever. Mm-hmm. He's like, nobody's used it. And I'm like, well, some fucking stinks, man. It's fucking, wow. So, unbeknownst to us, they've put us in the VIP spot right across from where they empty every fucking porta potty from the buffalo chip.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. We called it doo-doo pond all week. Dude, it was so fucking rancid. They literally, you couldn't even hang out in the RV during the day because it smelled so fucking bad.
The heat, the sun on it, yeah.
I was giving him so much shit. I was like, this is VIP?
Yeah.
This is the VIP fucking treatment that we get? Now, the Camp Zero bar right there, have you been to that little bar?
Yeah.
I had so much fun, like Pat and the guys from Lead Sled.
Yeah, why didn't they just put you on Camp Zero with that?
Dude, I don't fucking know, because we were VIP.
Oh, shit.
Right? I mean,
Put them on the hill. They're VIP.
so, but the Camp Zero bar, like Lead Sled did their Sportster show there.
Yeah.
And like, we had a fucking hell of a time there.
Yeah.
But down where we were staying, man, you could hardly sleep because the smell was so fucking bad. I'm like, did you do something wrong? Like, are we being punished? Like, did you say something you shouldn't have said? Like I don't want to ever stay here again. So
I think that, you know what's weird, and I think Jason can probably attest to this, is that like these rallies, these different entities that put on these events, you know, even like Jason had mentioned to me a couple years ago about Buffalo Chip wanting to try to get younger people there, right? So what's always weird to me is that like these
They're going
people
about it the wrong way, Chip.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Fucking it up, Chip.
What they do is they reach out to companies like mine or anybody else, like, hey, we want to like inspire new people to come, but they don't want to invest. They just want you to do all the work and bring a few more people that hopefully doesn't affect the other people they already have. And I always tell them, I was like, you know, if you really want to, you know, make a space for people to enjoy this, like the thing about Camp Zero is Camp Zero kind of came out right around our Fast Life Camp Out came out a couple years later. But not saying that they saw our camp out and they decided to do it. I'm not implying that. I think that like the demand for people to want to have a camp out experience was in the air. And I think that our camp out helped permeate that, if you will. And I think that they wanted to chime in on some of that and offer a cheaper alternative for the younger people to come to Buffalo Chip and not have to pay the full, you know, $200 for the week kind of vibe per person to be there.
There was RVs everywhere around it though. Like they should have made that like tents only.
Yeah.
That might have made it a little cooler if it was just tents only. Like,
yeah,
maybe. I mean, I don't know. So.
There's a, you know, like there's a thing that comes with like, if you want to curate an experience, like say you're creating an event, right? You know that like, okay, if we offer, you know, RV sites to everybody, then it's going to take away. Like our camp out, we have RVs there. There's also some cabins there. There's a lot of other like amenities if you want to do that. And over the last couple of years, since the RV shares become a thing, there's a lot of people that just book RVs. They get them dropped off. They show up and they have all the amenities they want, but they're at a camp out.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's called RV share, huh?
So, is it RV share? It's something like that. They do it at Born Free, Texas. It's big.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I get VRBO.
You basically Airbnb an RV at an event.
Fuck.
I mean, you got to pay for the
that's
RV.
Where I've been like just fucking like head in the sand for a while. So I didn't.
So I mean, there's a lot of people that come to our camp out that experience it in that way, and I'm completely okay with that. Like, of course, I'm not in a position to be not okay with it. I think that what you are going to experience at the camp out is what it is. It doesn't matter where you lay your head. It's what you're doing while you're not asleep, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that, you know, especially if you're going to bring your old lady or whatever, like having a comfortable space is completely fine. Me personally, you know, my wife, we live close enough to where my wife can drive. So we do a tent. You walk in our tent, you would be like, yo, like this is legit. Like we got a rug. You know what I'm saying? We got fucking.
I got a big ass tent then.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sleeping on the ground. We're sleeping on an air mattress. We got amenities.
Okay.
We got a canopy out front, so if it's raining, we're under it. It's like camping, you know, it's not so much how you're sleeping. It's how you're spending your time. And when you're at a camp out or you're at a Camp Zero, it's the campfire. It's the ride during the day. It's the party at night. It's you losing track of time, not taking a photo at all because you're involved in so much stuff. It's like it's being present, right? But if you come to a camp out and you get an RV and you never leave the RV because you spent so much money on it that you got to enjoy the RV and not the camp out, that's when you're doing it wrong.
That's a good T-shirt. Be present.
Yeah.
Be present.
Being present. That's the best thing. Meeting. Going to. I don't think I'm in a position yet, like to. I've done Sturgis 9 times now, and I don't think I'm in a position yet to understand it to where I feel like I have an opinion how to make it a better rally for the next 20 or 30 years. But I think that I
think Sturgis is. I haven't been to every rally. I think Sturgis is, for me, is the most fun.
Oh, 100%.
Of all of them.
Seriously, Cody, like your just demeanor, like your friends that you have are the people that I actually, they're the people that I want to impress, to be honest with you. Jason, Frank, Boosted Brad, like all these chopper dogs are kind of like, for me at least, growing and learning about the whole existence of the chopper dogs and these men that have become part of this motorcycle industry and creating these bikes. Like Boosted Brad every year builds another FXR that I like slap myself. I'm like, I can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he's a dude. He really is. I mean, he's Jason is a really good friend of mine. I mean, Brad, Frank, James.
I haven't met one dude that was a part of y'all's world that like I was like, yeah, fuck that guy.
They're all solid.
No, they're solid dudes. I'm planning to meet Scotty finally in San Francisco. We're gonna do a little podcast and like I have a big. I'll tell you about it later. But I have a big deal I'm doing this summer.
Awesome.
And he's a part of that because of how
he's an OG chopper jock. I mean, he's that FXR he did was fucking. It was iconic.
2012 when he took that picture.
Yeah, man, it was an iconic. There's a story behind the tank. Who made the tank? You'll have to ask him.
I'll have to ask him that.
I don't have a story about the tank.
The picture itself, the story behind the picture for the people out there, that was a shakedown run before he went to Born Free.
Yeah.
And he decided that he didn't want to ride a CFL to Born Free. He wanted to ride something, he's getting older. He wanted to ride something a little bit more comfortable. So he's doing a shakedown run on this FXR and this iconic photo of him standing back there with that Frisco tank that I've talked about on this podcast a million times. And I put it out there as one of the things that we were doing with this with my build, as that was one of my inspirations. And Frank actually connected us. Speed Dealer connected us, and we had a conversation. I was like, dude, you fucking changed my goddamn life, dude. Like, and you did it way before, like in 2012. I would have swore that was a 2016, 2015 photo. 2012, you did some badass shit that is changing the motorcycle industry, in my opinion, 12 years later.
And he was in the FXR Mecca. I mean, San Francisco.
He was drinking the Kool-Aid.
San Francisco guys.
They get it.
You know who I'm talking about when I say guys in San Francisco that were riding FXRs. Mm-hmm. I mean, so he was privy to guys doing FXR shit way before you and I probably were.
Oh, 100%.
So,
yeah.
I mean, but he's still a G. He's been about it for a long time. Mm-hmm. So Frank's been about it for a long time. So.
Dude, Frank is salt of the earth, man. Oh man, Frank has been a.
He's a fucking dude. He's one of the nicest people,
dude.
Like you can't even not be nice to him.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. Like when you hang out with him, like you don't necessarily whatever anger you brought in, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna leave this at the door. I want your vibe is like you win right now.
Now, James, you want to put in the fucking headlock and a fucking.
James will tell you about how there's conspiracy, there's lizard people, and
he's
there's
Jesse's BFF.
Yeah, he is.
All Jesse seats, upholstery.
He has, right?
James is a good dude. He's so fucking funny though. You can get him rashed up in a minute.
Quickly.
You want to do a seat for me? You should be fucking $2,000 today. I mean, all right, I will. But if I don't get the check, I'm not fucking doing it. I'm like, all right, I'll send you a check. You send them a box. Jack's not in their fucking box. I'm like,
They're friends the way we're friends.
you know,
Like it sounds like he's talking shit, but he's
no,
like,
I'm not.
Yeah.
That's just fucking James. Like, he's a straight up, like, if you're friends with him,
Yeah.
it's cool. Business is business.
Yeah.
There's no fucking, like, hey, we're friends. You forgot to put the check in the box. It doesn't work that way because I forgot to put the check in the box. I sent him the seat pan, didn't put the check in the box. I'm not doing your fucking seat. There's no fucking check. I'm like, dude, my bad. I thought I put the check in there. I'll send it to you. He's like, I'll get the check. I'll work on the seat. He's just fucking business.
Yeah.
And I respect it because he's a fucking seat ninja.
Seat ninja.
He is
Yeah,
a
I like
fucking
that.
seat ninja.
Well, Cody, dude, I appreciate it, man. It was I didn't know where we were going to go with this conversation. And I felt
I
like,
didn't either.
I felt like I think we tackled a lot of good things that I actually wanted to talk about subconsciously. You know what I'm saying?
It was good for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just to be in this space, the motorcycle space, like probably unbeknownst to you, for me, I mean, I watch you on Instagram and see what you do, and you know, we don't get a lot of FaceTime together, but for me, it's still a shining light for me to see things I want to see and be in the know in the industry when I'm still kind of in a corner looking.
Yeah,
but I still get to see what's going on. So I may live vicariously through what you got going on, but it's still good for me.
Well, all right. Well, Cody, thank you. Appreciate
you.
this.
I appreciate
The
you.
whiskey was good.
Those are yours, bro.
Oh, shit. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. By mine, nobody else can have them. Anyway, no, thank you, Cody. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We're good.